and Lu Chunna, who had already arrived and were helping set up in the banquet hall. Wang Danden's college classmate, Xue Qi, the manager of the resort's catering department, was also there talking to them. When they met, Wang Danden complained, "I think your wedding is a bit too simple, right? No bridesmaids or groomsmen, just signing in at 10, starting at 11, and finishing with the meal by noon. We initially didn't plan on having a wedding, but the elders at home wanted some excitement. This way is quite nice. We're not the only ones doing it this way. Many couples are opting for simpler weddings to avoid hassle." Li Hong explained. Lu Chunna added, "You must have spent quite a bit. This place isn't cheap. Mainly, the banquet and room costs about 200,000. Renting the wedding dress and makeup is under 30,000. And the total for the gifts and everything shouldn't exceed 400,000. Li Hong summarized. Wang Danden said, "The chartered buses have been arranged. There are 2 leaving at 9 tomorrow. One will take your colleagues from the hospital and the other for your company. Create 2 groups to add those who need a ride. I'll also add the drivers for better coordination." Lu Chunna added, "We have arranged 3 vehicles from this side. 1 for elementary school, 1 for middle school, and 1 for your community. Just have your uncle and aunt take care of it. It's close by, and leaving at 9:31 TB late." It must be said that having more close friends is indeed helpful, as they can lend a hand with various tasks. The women were chatting casually, while he went to help Zhang Wenna and Sun Erxi with the setup. The couple was experienced in organizing events, and with the assistance of the local staff, they completed the arrangement in just over 2 hours. The setup featured a currently popular minimalist and fresh style, with white as the main color complemented by some floral decorations, creating a fresh and elegant, yet solemn atmosphere. In the end, Zhang Fan and Li Hong treated everyone to a meal before returning to rest, ready for the wedding the next day. The next morning, Zhang Fan woke up at 6 as usual and went for a morning run along the path outside the resort. On his way back, he ran into Li Changle and Li Changshui. Li Changle drove a silver-gray pickup truck, which was loaded with 230 gift packages for guests, along with various snacks like candies and peanuts. Zhang Fan led them to park the truck at the entrance of the banquet hall, where the staff helped unload the gifts into the lounge. "You all arrived a bit early. There are still 3 hours to go." Zhang Fan laughed. "Isn't it to avoid any delays? My sister would have torn me apart otherwise. The florist is bringing the flowers at 7. We can't keep them waiting." Li Changle replied. Li Changshui was familiar with the security manager there and was chatting with him, then introduced him to Zhang Fan, who assured them that everything would go smoothly. At 7 o'clock, the florist's truck and Zhang Wenna's couple's car arrived one after the other. Under Zhang Wenna's direction, everyone arranged the flowers according to the pre-designed layout, while Sun Erxi began filming. Once the setup was complete, Li Hong and Su Lu came over for a final inspection, making adjustments where necessary. They then went to the resort restaurant for breakfast. During the meal, Li Hong praised Li Changle, saying she would be magnanimous in the future and not hold grudges against her brother. Li Changle conceded, as today his sister was the bride. Not long after breakfast, the makeup artist arrived with the rented wedding dress, and the banquet hall had designated makeup and changing rooms where they began the preparations. Li Hong couldn't move around while getting her makeup done, and her phone had been ringing nonstop since breakfast, with Su Lu taking on the role of her personal assistant to answer calls. Zhang Fan's calmness contrasted sharply with Li Hong's busyness. His phone hadn't rung at all, as he had already contacted everyone he needed to and was chatting casually with Li Changle and Li Changshui in the lounge. Li Changle remarked enviously, "Your wedding is really easy. When I got married, I was exhausted. I started preparing the day before and woke up at 5 on the wedding day, busy all day without a moment to breathe." Even after entering the bridal chamber, the festivities continued until midnight when everyone finally left. "We were so tired we didn't feel like doing anything afterward." Li Changshui empathized. "That's right. Nowadays, weddings are just about spending money and exhausting yourself. But Zhang Fan and our sister take it easy. Why spend money to suffer? It's all vanity. Keeping up with others is human nature, and while living conditions have improved, people's mindset hasn't caught up. There's no need to compare on many things." Zhang Fan added. Sun Erxi didn't know when he had also arrived, munching on melon seeds, and interjected, "Comparing oneself to others can also stimulate consumption. If everyone thinks like you, how can the economy soar? With so many products being produced, who are they going to sell to? This kind of comparison just makes life harder." It's not just adults. Even children face significant pressure these days. Learning in class isn't enough, and they often have to do homework until midnight at home. We have 2 elementary school students, and helping them with their homework leaves us completely exhausted. Summer vacation is just around the corner, and it's still not calming down. My partner even wants to enroll the kids in tutoring classes. Li Changle clicked his tongue at this. While they were chatting, Wang Danden and Lu Chunna came in and headed to the makeup room. Not long after, Li Changshan and his wife, along with their son and daughter, also arrived. "Big brother, you guys are here. What about the old man and the old lady?" Li Changshui asked. "First, send your sister-in-law and the kids over. I'll go back to pick them up in a little while. It's not far, so it'll be quick." Hong Hong chose a great place. It's South Classy and close to home, Li Changshan said, looking around with his hands behind his back. He then took a stroll around the banquet hall before returning to join their conversation in the lounge. Chapter 122. The wedding by around 9 o'clock. The bride's makeup was finally finished. Zheng Fan was also pulled into the makeup room. As the male lead today, he had to get his makeup done too. Although he was reluctant, under the barrage of women in the makeup room, he had no choice but to yield, letting the makeup artist groom his eyebrows, apply oil, and dust powder all over his face. Fortunately, the groom's makeup wasn't too complicated and was completed in just over 10 minutes. He then changed into a set of groom's attire that had been prepared in advance. The daily exercise over the past few days had paid off. His excess weight and belly had slimmed down significantly, and his figure looked much more balanced. Wearing a dark gray suit and sporting a newly styled slick-back hairstyle, he looked quite dashing. The bride, Li Hong, had prepared 3 outfits. One was a short wedding dress for the reception that showcased her perfect calves. Another was a more traditional full-skirted wedding gown, and the last was a long red dress with gold embroidery for toasting. All 3 outfits were rented at a high price, and if it weren't for the wedding, Li Hong wouldn't have chosen to wear such complicated clothing herself. As for the groom, Zheng Fan had a full suit for the event, and just in case, there was a backup outfit. The suit had been carefully selected by Li Hong, and it would certainly be useful for other occasions in the future. Although a traditional wedding is beautiful, it is also more troublesome, requiring custom outfits and setups. Money alone isn't enough. Zheng Fan wasn't short on cash and was willing to spend on the wedding, but many things can't simply be solved with money. Walking slowly, speaking in a mix of formal and casual tones, and dealing with the complex rituals felt like buying trouble with money. A performance for others rather than a reflection of their true expectations. There were requirements for the MC, and for their own behaviors and speeches during the wedding. After watching some videos online, which were indeed beautiful and grand, they imagined themselves in that situation and decisively decided against it. At 10 o'clock, they began to welcome guests. The reception hall, nearly 100 square meters in size, is divided into 2 sections by 2 large photo walls, each over 3 meters tall and 6 meters wide, arranged in a V shape. In the front, 2 people greet guests and take photos, while the back serves as the registration area, where Li Changel, Su Lu, and Lu Chunna are responsible for recording the names of guests and collecting gifts. Wang Dandan and Xue Qi handle the seating arrangements for the guests. With one being a deputy-level official and the other a manager from the catering department, they are well-equipped to manage the various attendees. The first to arrive are Li Hong's grandparents, leading a large family group consisting of Uncle Li Wenguang and his wife, 2 uncles Li Wenzheng and his wife, Li Wen and his wife, 2 aunts Li Wanmei and her husband, Li Wenli and her husband, along with their 3rd-generation children, totaling nearly 30 people. Most of them have met during past celebrations, but Li Hong is meeting her 2 aunts and uncles for the first time, along with several cousins and nieces and nephews, whom she introduces one by one. Sun Erxi is on the side capturing the moments, taking individual family photos first, then a big group photo at the end. Unfortunately, the key figures, the bride Li Hong's parents, Li Wanming and Dai Fong, are not present as they are traveling with neighbors by bus. They hope to join later. As this group moves on, the 2 greeters breathe a sigh of relief. Following them are some of Li Hong's close classmates and friends, arriving individually or in groups to offer their blessings. Li Hong greets them one by one, introducing them to Zheng Fan for photos. Not long after, Li Hong's parents, Li Wanming and Dai Fong, arrive with relatives and friends from the county on a bus. Since it's the weekend, most students and teachers are off, and many who received invitations come with their families. Although 3 buses are not completely full, they still bring about 70 to 80 people of all ages. Some of these guests are unfamiliar to Li Hong, and her parents help with the introductions and photos, taking over 20 minutes to manage the crowd, leaving Zheng Fan feeling as if his face might freeze from smiling. As things settle down, Dai Fong informs her daughter, "Your grandparents and uncles are on their way. They're driving here and should arrive in about 20 minutes. Is my uncle back? I even booked a room for them here, and they aren't staying." Li Hong asks, "Your uncle isn't in good health. He rarely comes back. He returned last week just to attend your wedding, so he can spend time with your grandparents. He knows you're busy with work and didn't want to trouble you," Dai Fong explains. Before long, Li Hong's colleagues from the hospital and those from the company arrive together on 2 buses. Due to the nature of their work, it's not feasible to leave everything behind for the wedding. Most of them are off-duty or on rotation, and Zheng Fan knows them all, so no further introductions are necessary. Colleague Lu Yifan leads the group, including several original shareholders and new members of the board. Out of courtesy, Zheng Fan had sent invitations to them all. And to his surprise, everyone showed up, including Nadia and Belle, who have been in another country, offering their blessings in their unique way. Although they are a new company, they don't have many additional tables to add. Most of those who received the invitations for the weekend came, and they didn't even send out many invitations. Most attendees were senior employees known by the host, along with some mid-level leaders. Li Hong had only been at the company for a little over 3 months. Yet she knew more people than the host, with half of the dozens of invitations being sent out by her. As these guests entered, the banquet hall quickly filled up. The 20 tables they had reserved were definitely not enough. Xueqi came out to discuss with them, and after a quick calculation, they decided to add 5 more tables. Considering Li Hong's grandmother's family, friends from the martial arts club, and some other friends who had not yet arrived. Fortunately, the banquet hall was spacious enough. Xueqi, as the catering manager, had seen similar situations many times and managed the additional tables and kitchen preparations smoothly. Later, some more friends arrived. Guests tend to arrive in clusters, and the people from the martial arts club and Li Hong's grandmother's relatives arrived almost simultaneously. Thankfully, with the experience gained from handling a large crowd earlier, the couple was quite adept at managing the situation, especially with the help of Li Wanming and Dai Fong, who assisted in greeting the guests. The elderly couple followed Li Hong's grandparents inside, while Zhang Shuping, who came with her parents, stayed behind and awkwardly apologized to Li Hong. "Sister, I'm sorry. I wanted to come early, but my parents made me help. Is this worth a special apology? Hurry inside. It's about to start. After the ceremony, don't rush to eat. Come find me in the makeup room to help us pour drinks." Li Hong replied with a laugh. As Zhang Shuping entered, only Zheng Fan and Li Hong remained at the entrance. It was almost 11 o'clock, and they finally made it through. Li Hong glanced at the time and sighed. "Why didn't we cancel the welcoming part? I didn't expect this to be the most exhausting part." Zheng Fan lamented. "You might as well cancel me too. It would be less trouble." Li Hong shot him a look. Just as Zheng Fan was about to retort, he saw the Ho and Fong families arriving together. Thankfully, they had added tables earlier. Otherwise, there would have been no place for them to sit, as their wedding estimates had been quite off. Accompanying them was an unfamiliar woman in her 30s with short hair and rimless glasses, exuding an intellectual aura. "Let me introduce you. This is Qiao Er, Li Ming's wife. A university teacher. Since Li Ming couldn't come back from the military, she is representing him." Fong Mei introduced. "Congratulations to the newlyweds. Wishing you a happy marriage, a harmonious family, and many children, growing old together." Qiao Er shook hands with both hosts, offering her blessings. Zheng Fan and Li Hong expressed their gratitude, took a group photo, and invited them inside. Most of the expected guests had arrived, and those who hadn't likely wouldn't. The number exceeded expectations, and it was already past 11. Zhang Wenna came over to inform them that it was almost time. Then she and Sun Erxi took the camera to the banquet hall to prepare. Su Lu pulled Li Hong to change clothes, and Zheng Fan followed to get ready as well. Chapter 123. Wedding day. The originally planned process was streamlined based on the principle of not wasting time, leading to the cancellation of the champagne tower and cake-cutting segments. The champagne tower can only have 5 layers with dozens of glasses. Any higher would be unsafe. It's not feasible for everyone to have a glass, and it would be difficult to manage if some people don't get one. As for the cake, aside from the children, not many people eat it now. A smaller cake wouldn't look good, and a larger one would go to waste. 2 extravagant but impractical elements were streamlined. The current process is that after the host opens the event, Li Hong and Zheng Fan enter together. The host introduces them, sharing their individual backgrounds and their journey as a couple. A video of their travels and wedding photos plays on the big screen to set the mood. Then comes the host's classic question. In times of prosperity or adversity, in wealth or poverty, in health or sickness, in youth or old age. They each respond with "I do," exchange rings, and the ceremony concludes. They take a break. Li Hong changes outfits, and the couple comes out to toast. Then waits for guests to depart, completing the wedding. It's understandable that Wang Dandan feels frustrated. The event has been streamlined to the extreme. Not only is the process simplified, but there are also no witnesses, no speeches from leaders, and no remarks from elders. They only need to respond with 2 words, "I do." This process was mutually agreed upon by the couple. They have already heard too many speeches from leaders and admonishments from elders, and did not want to hear more in this setting. They also have no interest in public speaking, so this arrangement works well for them. With the help of Su Lu and the makeup artist, Li Hong changes into a pure white wedding dress and waits with Zheng Fan at the entrance to the stage. Zhang Wen's opening speech lasts just over 3 minutes. And as it nears the end, she announces, "Please welcome the bride, Li Hong." Li Hong suddenly turns to Zheng Fan and says, "I'll go on first. I want to sing a song. You come up later." As the music begins, Li Hong takes the microphone from Su Lu and slowly walks onto the stage. Her deep voice starting to resonate. When you reach a certain age, you'll understand that living alone can be tough, and you gradually start to taste the flavor of loneliness. Time knocks on your pride. Her singing isn't as professional as some, but it exceeds the average level. Her voice is round and melodious, with every lyric seeming tailor-made for her, sung from the heart. How many can walk with me for a while? Few are willing to walk through life together. Whether it's unforgettable doesn't matter so much. I just want to experience the taste of love in the mundane. Finally, I waited for you. I'm glad I didn't give up. Happiness is hard to come by, making it even more precious. I almost missed you, meeting you at the best age. That's what makes it worthwhile. With Su Lu's cue, Zhang Fan meets Li Hong's gaze and slowly walks onto the stage, joining hands with her. Finally, I waited for you. The applause erupts from the audience as they hold hands and gaze into each other's eyes, filled with unspoken emotions. This segment was added by Li Hong without Zhang Fan's knowledge, yet it became the highlight of the entire wedding, giving a memorable touch to an otherwise streamlined ceremony. The following process was rather routine, hosted by Zhang Wenna, and passed quickly without any remarkable events. 2 people exited the venue, and the wedding banquet began. The makeup artist waited to do a final touch-up and helped Li Hong change into a red short-sleeve long dress. After a final check, her work for the day was complete, and she went to the front to enjoy the banquet while waiting for the final wrap-up. It wouldn't be good to not drink at such an occasion, but drinking too much could be an issue. Zhang Fan didn't want to drink either. So Su Lu had prepared a bottle of champagne in advance, mixing it with Sprite and red tea. The color looked similar. And those who didn't pay close attention wouldn't notice. If someone took it too seriously, it would just cause trouble. Zhang Shuping came over from the banquet hall, took the champagne bottle, and started serving drinks. Most of the guests were Li Hong's relatives and friends, and Li Wanming and Dai Feng accompanied them, going table by table to toast. The first table was Li Hong's grandparents, uncles, and aunts, all close relatives. Zhang Fan poured drinks and greeted everyone, exchanging a few words with each person. After finishing one table, the 2 of them toasted together. The second table consisted of the company's board members. Though Shi Xian and Wu Zhen were absent, they were seated at the back with the medical and gaming companies, all considered friends of Zhang Fan. Li Hong served drinks and greeted them. A few foreigners understood and spoke Chinese quite well, offering their blessings again. Su Can, sitting next to them, had already become familiar with the group, patting Zhang Fan on the shoulder. We're taking care of our colleagues here. You don't need to worry about us. Enjoy your wedding leave. The third table was Li Hong's maternal grandparents, uncles, aunts, and other elders. Zhang Fan went over to greet them and pour drinks, receiving another round of blessings. Next came colleagues from Li Hong's hospital, colleagues from the company, Li Wanming's colleagues, Dai Feng's colleagues, and other relatives, neighbors, and friends. Each table was filled with warm exchanges and countless blessings. After finishing the toasts at the front, Li Wanming and Dai Feng returned to their grandparents' table upon persuasion, leaving the 2 of them to continue toasting. They had poured the mixed drink of Sprite and red tea, and after taking a sip each time, Zhang Fan and his partner had managed to toast to over 10 tables without finishing their drinks. When they reached Li Hong's uncles, aunts, and siblings, they couldn't get through easily, seeing the 2 trying to sneak by with just a sip. Li Changel was unwilling to let them off. I've been watching you 2 for a while. It's too cunning. Let us not be picky about what's real or fake. Are you planning to fill the whole banquet with this? No tricks, you must finish it. Everyone at the table was familiar with Li Hong and joined in the teasing, leading to their first toast. Most guests were easygoing. Spending 3 to 5 minutes at each table, they had toasted over 20 tables in nearly 2 hours. And Zhang Shuping still had half a bottle of the fake champagne left. Back in the makeup room, Zhang Shuping poured herself a glass and downed it in one go, smacking her lips. No wonder that guy called you too cunning. Turns out this is Sprite mixed with red tea, and you 2 don't even want to drink it? It's all fizzy. How can you get bloated? Li Hong retorted. I've learned a trick, sis. When I get married, you have to be my advisor. Your wedding is really nice, simple, yet meaningful. Zhang Shuping poured herself another glass. Su Lu walked in and handed Li Hong the villa key card. I've put the received cash gifts in the gift list in your room. You 2 can count them slowly when you get back. Today, you've worked hard running around, so make sure to rest well when you go back. Li Hong expressed her gratitude. What kind of relationship do we have to say such things? When I came in, I saw some guests leaving. Are you still seeing them off? If so, you should wait at the front. Su Lu asked. The 2 then returned to the reception hall at the front. The ceremony had been quite simple, and they couldn't be negligent in terms of etiquette. Li Changel was already there, handing out gifts to each departing guest, beautifully packaged candies and snacks, along with a few small souvenirs. This was also part of their business, serving a dual purpose as advertising. Seeing off guests wasn't too complicated. For elders and close relations, they exchanged a few more words, while for others, a simple nod and greeting sufficed. Soon, most guests had left, hospital colleagues, company co-workers, and relatives and friends from the county, all of whom had arrived by bus, departed in groups. A large crowd from the grandparents' side also came out. The 2 welcomed them and accompanied them until they got on their vehicles. Several cars started to leave one after another, and Zhang Shuping was also the driver, having barely eaten at the banquet before heading back. With the rise of autonomous driving, her father's car wasn't equipped with that, so she had no choice but to take on the role of a driver. Finally, a large group of relatives from Li Hong's grandparents' side was the last to leave. Just before getting on the vehicle, Li Hong's grandmother held Zhang Fan's hand and instructed, "This girl has been stubborn since she was little. If she bullies you, come find me, and I will take care of it." She won't dare not listen to me. Once all the guests were sent off, the makeup artist helped Li Hong remove her makeup, packed up the several outfits she had worn, settled the payment, and then took her leave. Zhang Fan helped Zhang Wenna and son Erxi dismantle the stage props, loading everything into the vehicle. They watched as their truck drove away, exiting the resort. The entire wedding was considered complete. The process had already been so streamlined, and even though the two were quite exhausted from yesterday to today, it was finally over. And everything turned out well. Chapter 124, City Wall. After the wedding, the couple stayed at the North Lake Resort for another 2 days. Li Hong took Zhang Fan to explore the scenery near the Miyun Reservoir, reminiscing about some wonderful memories from her childhood. They then returned home for a day, marking a visit, before starting their honeymoon trip. The city wall of Xi'an is quite famous. Emperor Yang Jian of the Sui dynasty ordered Yuan Kai to build Daxing City and Daxing Palace on Longzhou Plain. During the Tang dynasty, it was renamed Chang'an City and Taiji Palace. The Tang Chang'an City was over 9,000 meters wide from east to west, 8,000 meters long from north to south, with a circumference of 36,000 meters and a total area of 84 square kilometers, making it the largest ancient capital in China. During the tumultuous period of the late Tang and Five dynasties, the outer city of the vast Chang'an was destroyed by war. To facilitate defense, the warlords at the time reinforced the city walls based on the southern imperial city of Taiji Palace, laying the foundation for the walls of Chang'an during the Song and Yuan dynasties. After Zhu Yuanzhang of the Ming dynasty dispatched General Su to capture Chang'an, he conferred the title of King of Qin upon his son Zhu Chang, renaming Chang'an to Xi'an. They expanded the city to the east and north based on the remnants of the Song and Yuan walls, establishing the current layout of the Xi'an city wall. Over the years, the city wall has endured numerous battles and has undergone several major renovations during the Ming, Qing, Republic of China, and modern periods. But its overall structure has remained largely unchanged. Zhang Fan had long admired the city walls of Xi'an, so they chose it as the first stop of their honeymoon. Staying at a well-rated guest house near Yongning Gate, waking up promptly at 6 in the morning, Zhang Fan washed up and walked less than 300 meters from the guest house to reach Yongning Gate. In summer, dawn comes early, and by the time he climbed the city wall, there were already a few people there. Some were just strolling to enjoy the scenery, while others, enthusiastic about running, were bending down to stretch and warm up. It was Zhang Fan's first experience running on the city wall, compared to asphalt and concrete roads. The brick surface felt less comfortable, uneven in places, requiring attention to where he stepped. However, the unique advantage was the elevated perspective, as if the entire city lay beneath him. The current city wall of Xi'an stands 12 meters high, 12 meters wide at the top, 15 meters wide at the base, and has a perimeter of 14 kilometers. The scale of the city has far surpassed that of the Han and Tang dynasties, with the area enclosed by the walls representing only a small part of the urban landscape. As he looked around on the wall, high-rise buildings were densely packed, making it difficult to distinguish between the city inside and outside the walls. During his run, he saw many people exercising in the morning. Not wanting to stand out too much, he moderated his pace, and by the time he returned to the starting point at Yongning Gate, over half an hour had passed. There was an elderly man, around 70, with a head full of white hair, dressed in a white training outfit, practicing Tai Chi in an open space by the city tower. His movements were graceful and fluid, a perfect blend of softness and strength, exuding a sense of mastery. Zhang Fan had never systematically learned Tai Chi. He had only watched some instructional videos and tried it once during a game, not knowing which style it belonged to. Now, he had the chance to observe closely. Initially, the old man was practicing alone, but by the time he finished, 4 or 5 people had gathered around to watch. And when he completed his routine, some even led the applause. It felt as if the old man was performing for an audience, but thankfully, he was seasoned enough to take it in stride, smiling and bowing in thanks. If there had been a little girl with braids holding a gong for donations nearby, it would have been even more fitting. The old man approached Zhang Fan with a smile and asked, "Young man, you've been watching the longest. Have you practiced Tai Chi before?" Zhang Fan replied shyly, "I've learned from videos, but I haven't had a teacher. I just practice on my own, and not for long. If you don't mind my rough skills, would you like to practice a bit here? I could show you a thing or two," the old man offered. Zhang Fan felt quite happy about this and didn't waste any time on small talk. He took his stance and began practicing the 24-style Tai Chi, which was a simplified version derived from Yang style. Tai Chi. His movements were much quicker than the old man's, though not merely for the sake of speed. He just felt more comfortable and fluid that way. After a continuous set of movements lasting just over 3 minutes, he gradually finished and stood still. His actions exuded a vigorous energy, earning him even more applause, and by this point, the crowd had grown to over a dozen onlookers. The old man looked at him, frowning in thought. Your movements are fluid and coherent, with clear distinctions between the real and the imaginary, smooth and natural. You clearly grasp the essence of Tai Chi. You don't seem like someone who has just started practicing. I've trained in combat sports, and I've also practiced for a long time in a game, which should have contributed as well, Zheng Fan explained. Seeing that they had stopped practicing, the onlookers began to disperse, with only 2 or 3 still listening to their conversation. Game. The old man seemed puzzled by this answer. It was understandable to practice combat sports. At least one's physical qualities wouldn't be too poor. But how could one practice Tai Chi in a game? A young girl with a ponytail chimed in. He must be talking about an immersive game where you can experience things in a game pod, controlling it with brainwaves. Zheng Fan nodded in confirmation. You've reached a level where you don't need an old man like me to guide you. My routines are somewhat different from what you practice. More comprehensive. If you want to learn, come back tomorrow at this time, and I would be happy to share with you. How about that? The old man said, looking at Zheng Fan. Thank you. I would love that. Have you eaten? Let me treat you to breakfast. Zheng Fan replied. The old man chuckled and declined. I have to go home on time for my meal. Otherwise, I'll get nagged at. The two of them walked down the city wall together. Zheng Fan explained his reasons for coming to Xi'an, mentioning that he wouldn't stay long. The old man exchanged contact information with him, and then they went their separate ways. Back at their rented accommodation, Li Hong was already up, practicing yoga on the living room floor. Zheng Fan took a cold shower in the bathroom and changed his clothes. In a little while, let's go to that restaurant at the intersection for a meal. It looks quite popular. The food should be good, Zheng Fan said as he came out of the bathroom. Then you'll have to wait a bit. I just started practicing. Take your time. We're here to relax and unwind. No need to hurry. Zheng Fan leaned back on the sofa and started scrolling through his phone. His phone had location services enabled, so short videos recommended many local clips. As a famous tourist city and one of the hottest check-in spots, various travel bloggers had posted many videos, especially about the recently popular Bigtang Night City, which he scrolled through for quite a while. Their travel plan for today included the city wall, the Steel Forest Museum, and if they had time, the Big Wild Goose Pagoda and the Shangxi History Museum. They planned to decide later whether to visit the Bigtang Night City. They weren't planning to join a tour group, just taking their time to explore the main attractions over 10 days. Suddenly, a familiar video caught his eye. It was Li Hong in a pure white wedding dress singing, with the familiar background being their wedding. This video was clearly recorded by a guest with a phone. The quality was average, with background noise from conversations, but thanks to Li Hong's good figure and looks, as well as her decent singing, it had quite a high view count, with tens of thousands of likes and thousands of comments. At first, Zheng Fan didn't think much of it. But when he opened the comments, he instantly felt displeased. The top comment read, "Such a beautiful girl, and it took so long to find someone like that. The standards must be so high." As soon as the groom made his entrance, everyone understood. Then someone replied, "Why are all the good ones being taken by the wrong people?" I also got the hint. The groom either has money himself or comes from a wealthy family. Maybe his family has some political connections? Anyway, he can't just be an ordinary person. Look at how bitter you all are. Why can't the bride marry for love? You people just can't stand the beauty of the world. Sister, do you even believe what you just said? Another highly commented post read, "Unbelievable revelation, don't just focus on the bride. Pay attention to the guests in the front row, they're all big shots. Want to know more? Click on my profile. There are a few foreigners. The groom has overseas connections. In this day and age, having a few foreign friends is not unusual, yet you sensationalize it. Clickbait. Ignorance isn't your fault. But don't wander around, you might get lost. If you don't even know who Lu Yifan is, how will you get by in the future? I genuinely worry for you." The author of this comment goes by the name Unbelievable Revelation, and upon clicking in, the top pin video is a clip made from a screenshot of this wedding video, paired with a report from a foreign media outlet, analyzing the identities of the guests at Lu Yifan's table one by one. Lu Yifan, Gao Hua, and Su Huiyan often get interviewed and have appeared in major media headlines. So many people are already familiar with them. A few foreigners and others have almost no coverage domestically, while foreign media has no reservations, as various outlets have thoroughly reported on the identities of the major shareholders of the Brainwave company. Particularly, Zheng Fan has received significant attention, being hailed as a pioneer of the AI era, with his photo prominently displayed, a picture of him in a suit walking out of his company's office building. Unbelievable Revelation juxtaposed this foreign media photo with a screenshot of the groom from the wedding video, concluding, "Now everyone understands why a seemingly ordinary wedding has the entire board of Brainwave Technology in attendance. This is the real big shot. It's worth the wait for the bride." This Unbelievable Revelation account has over 200,000 followers. The video has garnered hundreds of thousands of likes, and comments exceed tens of thousands, with shares in the thousands, having much greater influence than the original post. In the comments section, there's overwhelming praise for Zheng Fan, describing him as low-key and unpretentious, while the bride mostly faced ridicule, as if to say, Isn't it obvious? A big shot worth billions. Yes, just another pretty face. Further replies included, Donggu has already crashed. The pretty face's life isn't easy. Divorce is just around the corner. I wonder how long these two can last. How do you know their life isn't easy? They still live in a mansion, surrounded by people serving them. Attending high society gatherings, their life goes on. Why would they divorce? The bride is so beautiful. I wouldn't mind if she divorced. Dream on, even if she divorces. It wouldn't be your turn. Sigh, the happiness of the wealthy is beyond our imagination. Following this, several shares of the wedding video appeared, each with considerable heat, and comments about the bride, Li Hong, were mixed, but overall, their identities couldn't be hidden any longer. Zhang Fan had long anticipated that his identity would be exposed, and had even felt anxious about it. He never expected it to happen in such a way, causing Li Hong to be implicated as well, which made him feel quite guilty. Unfortunately, there was little he could do about the situation. No matter how much he tried to control external factors, he couldn't dictate what others said. As long as it wasn't slanderous or defamatory, it was their right to express themselves. Moreover, he had always despised the endless expansion of speech control. Now that he was the one being scrutinized, he realized how uncomfortable it felt. It was no wonder that those in power were keen on controlling the narrative. If you upset me, I'll silence you. Wealth allows for caprice, and power even more so. His transition into this new identity had been too abrupt, and he still hadn't adapted to it. He didn't want to become the kind of person he once detested. Faced with this situation, he could only turn a blind eye and console himself. However, Li Hong was quite open-minded about it. Since the day I agreed to marry you, I was prepared for this. You can't have everything sweet. Let them say what they want. As long as we are true to ourselves, that's enough. Despite her words, Zhang Fan could see that she was also feeling quite frustrated. Being ridiculed and misunderstood for no reason would be hard for anyone to ignore. Back when they were doing well, Zhang Fan was just an ordinary programmer, without a house or a car, and not particularly good-looking. How had he ended up as the second milk tea sister? If it were just him being misunderstood, he could endure it. But seeing Li Hong suffer made it hard for him to do nothing. So after they had breakfast, instead of going out to explore, Zhang Fan created a small web crawler program specifically to monitor a certain video. It would automatically report any defamatory comments or baseless insults directed at them. Expressing an opinion was one thing, but if someone crossed the line to attract attention and sensationalize, they were mistaken. He wasn't just any programmer. Without using advanced intelligence, he could manipulate the sophisticated attack systems of a certain country, and crafting this program was no ordinary feat in less than an hour. It had automatically reported over 300 accounts, with 99% having solid evidence against them. Mildly inappropriate videos were blocked, authors received warnings, and those with serious violations were permanently banned. The remaining accounts were ones where the authors had employed particularly clever evasion tactics, and the authorities couldn't act on mere suspicion. Nonetheless, the fact that this crawler could locate such videos proved its effectiveness. Even with hundreds of accounts reported, these violations only represented a small portion of all the reposts and comments. Most people were just making normal comments, offering sarcastic or mocking remarks. There was nothing he could do about that, but stare in frustration. Li Hong tried to comfort him. All right, don't be angry. Most of the comments are still very positive. So many people praised our simple and low-key wedding. Zhang Fan felt uncomfortable about being the one to suffer on her behalf. Oh, I don't like hearing that. You say you're incapable, but how can others live with that? That is too much. Li Hong couldn't help but tease him. All right, let's not think about that anymore. Let's go out and have some fun this afternoon. First, we'll climb the big wild goose pagoda, and then in the evening, we'll stroll around the Tang Paradise. Zhang Fan has also come to terms with it. Since there's no way to avoid it, let's face it calmly. The Great Sen Temple is located less than 5 kilometers southeast of Yongning Gate. It was a royal temple built by Emperor Gaozong of the Tang Dynasty, Li Ji, in memory of his mother, Empress Zhongsun. The temple originally had a large number of buildings, totaling 897 rooms, occupying half of the area of Jinchangfang and Chang'an at that time. Unfortunately, it was later destroyed in wars. The current Xian Temple was rebuilt during the Ming Dynasty's Changhua period and is only a small fraction of its original scale. The Tang monk Xuanzang, who returned from his journey for scriptures, was the first abbot of the Great Xian Temple. He led many disciples to translate the palm leaf scriptures brought back from afar. This place also became the ancestral ground of one of the 8 Buddhist schools, the Yogacara school. In order to house the scriptures, statues, and relics of the Buddha, Xuanzang personally oversaw the construction of a 5-story pagoda. This pagoda was initially built in the style of the region from which the scriptures were obtained and was named the Wild Goose Pagoda. Later, to distinguish it from the pagoda at another temple, it came to be known as the Big Wild Goose Pagoda. The Big Wild Goose Pagoda underwent 3 major renovations during the Tang Dynasty, changing from 5 stories to 9, then to 10, and later back to 7. During the Ming Dynasty, it experienced several earthquakes that caused the top to fall and the body to crack. In the 32nd year of the Wanli era, a large-scale renovation was carried out, which widened the foundation and covered the entire tower with 60 centimeters of bricks, resulting in its current appearance. The pagoda stands over 60 meters tall, equivalent to a 20-story building. The two of them followed the crowd of visitors, climbing the wooden stairs and enjoying the view from each level until they reached the 7th floor. Through the windows facing the 4 cardinal directions, they could see different sights of Xi'an. To the north is the largest fountain square in Asia, while to the south lies the famous Tang Paradise, a popular social media spot. After descending from the big Wild Goose Pagoda, they followed local customs and circled the pagoda, visiting the famous inscription stones for the 2 saints and 3 unparalleled on the eastern and western bases. These 3-meter-tall stone tablets were personally inscribed by Emperor Taizong and Emperor Gaozong, with calligraphy by the renowned calligrapher Chu Suiliang, documenting the journey of Xuanzang as he traveled thousands of miles over 17 years to obtain the scriptures. The inscription inside the western niche, titled The Sacred Teachings of the Great Tang Tripitaka, was penned by Emperor Taizong, written in 21 lines with 42 characters per line, totaling 821 characters. The inscription inside the eastern niche, titled The Record of the Sacred Teachings of the Great Tang Emperor, was written by Emperor Gaozong, in 20 lines with 40 characters per line, totaling 642 characters. Aside from elementary school calligraphy classes, Zheng Fan hadn't written with a brush since. But he had practiced quite a bit in games, collecting many calligraphy works by Chu Suiliang and putting in a lot of effort. Now, looking at the authentic pieces behind the iron railing was quite interesting. After visiting the Great Xi'an Temple and the big Wild Goose Pagoda, it was still not yet 4 in the afternoon, so they went to the northern square of the pagoda to watch the 4 o'clock music fountain performance. There weren't many people watching, and they said it looked better at night with the lighting effects, but they still found it quite enjoyable. The evening performance would be 3 hours long. Where shall we go next? Li Hong asked, as she had almost no opinion on tourism. Zheng Fan was fine with going anywhere she wanted. Let's find a cinema to watch a movie, then grab a bite to eat, and recharge our energy for an evening stroll. It might get crowded later, so be careful not to get lost. You know how to get back, right? Zheng Fan asked with concern. You make me sound like an idiot. I know the address of our lodging. It's not like I can't hail a cab, Li Hong replied. Rolling her eyes, she pulled out her phone and searched for the nearest cinema, finding that there were still tickets available for a 4:30 screening. After selecting 2 tickets for the back row, they walked over, with just 10 minutes before the show started. Li Hong bought a bag of sunflower seeds and 2 bottles of drinks before entering. The film was a classic animated movie, Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. It's such a famous film, and there are plenty of resources online, yet surprisingly, Li Hong had never seen it. Zheng Fan wondered what she usually watched. This movie had already been released in Japan back in 2001 and had won numerous awards, making Miyazaki's name known worldwide. It was puzzling why it was only being released in their country now. The movie was quite long, over 2 hours. Zheng Fan found himself dozing off. And when he woke up, the film was nearing its end. Li Hong was leaning on his shoulder, silently crying, with tears still wet on her face. He took a tissue to wipe her tears, relieved that she usually went without makeup. Otherwise, she would have looked like a raccoon. When they left the cinema, it was already 6:40. They ordered 2 bowls of soft noodles at a snack plaza below the cinema, which served as a makeshift dinner. And the taste was quite good. They then headed to the north square of the Wild Goose Pagoda, arriving just as the music and water show started at 7 o'clock. Under the lights, it was indeed dazzling and beautiful, but having just seen it once, the shock factor was lost. As more people began to gather, they walked along the pedestrian street, surrounded by crowds and loud noises. They held hands tightly. If they let go, they might easily lose each other. To be honest, the various performances here didn't attract Zheng Fan much, especially after living in a game world resembling the Tang Dynasty for over a decade. He found the sculptures more interesting. The most noticeable was the statue of Tang Sung in the South Square, which was also the best spot for photos with the Wild Goose Pagoda. The tallest statue was that of Li Shimin on horseback in Jingguan Square, standing on a several-meter-high stone base, overlooking the entire street with his disciplined subordinates around him. There were many statues of poets like Li Bai, Du Fu, Wang Wei, and Bai Zhi, as well as calligraphers like Chu Suiliang, Ouyang Sun, and Lu Gongquan, along with painter Wu Daozi, the Yin brothers, monk Xuanzang, and the medicine king Sun Simiao, among others. After wandering and stopping along the way, they finally reached the end of the 2-kilometer street, and it was already close to 9 o'clock. Are you tired? Do you want to head back? Zheng Fan asked. Let's go back. It's too crowded everywhere, Li Hong said, not wanting to walk any further. They found an empty taxi and returned to their lodging, wrapping up the day's activities. Early the next morning, just after 5 o'clock, Zheng Fan got up to go to Yongning Gate, climbing up the city wall. He soon ran into the old man he met yesterday, Yuan Yongcheng. Remembering the Tai Chi moves he had seen Yuan perform, He practiced the Yang-style set, which was more complex and varied. You learned it just by watching once yesterday? The old man exclaimed in surprise. I have a strong memory, but it's just imitation. Zhang Fan speaks frankly. No, you have experienced it deeply. I don't even dare to say I'm more proficient than you now. I'll practice another set. And how much I can learn depends on your skill. This set of moves is basically the same as yesterday's. At first glance, there seems to be no difference. The only difference is that the stance is lower, the steps are larger, and each move includes a leg lifting action. This set is more difficult than yesterday's, practiced more slowly. And it took nearly half an hour to complete the entire set. After finishing, Yuan Yongcheng was slightly sweating, with steam rising from his head, and asked, How much have you remembered? How about I practice it once, and you give me some pointers? Seeing him nod in agreement, Zhang Fan began to practice each move one by one. This time, he did not practice according to his own will, but completely imitated Yuan Yongcheng's movements, steps, breathing, and gaze. With his exceptional qualities, he actually appeared more graceful and natural while practicing. It was already past 6 o'clock, and several more spectators had gathered around, including the girl in her 20s with a ponytail from yesterday, who was filming his movements with her phone. After practicing the entire set slowly, another half hour had passed. Yuan Yongcheng stroked his smooth chin, nodded in satisfaction, and praised, I've taught hundreds of people, and you are the fastest learner. Let's continue tomorrow. After saying this, the old man nodded to the people around and turned to walk down the city wall to go home. Having practiced 2 sets of movements, Zhang Fan felt that the exercise was more effective than running, so he decided to switch his morning workout to Tai Chi from now on. Seeing that they were done practicing, the surrounding spectators also dispersed to attend to their own matters. The ponytail girl then put away her phone and came over to ask, I know who you are. Can I post the video of you practicing online? No, I don't want to increase my exposure. Zhang Fan replied with a smile, surprised that he could be recognized so quickly. Since she asked for his opinion, he naturally disagreed. The girl pouted, How stingy. Can I add you on WeChat? If I have questions in the game, I can ask you. You should know I just got married. I don't want to add people casually, especially women. If you have questions about the game, you can ask Meng too, or go to the forum. The answers there are more professional than mine. Zhang Fan declined. Can we take a photo together? The girl pouted even higher. Refusing again would seem a bit unkind, so Zhang Fan had to agree. Thus, they stood by the inner side of the city wall, with Zhang Fan placing his hands in front of him, and took a photo together. The girl left with satisfaction. Chapter 127. Rare leisure time in the following days. The two of them visited the Steel Forest Museum, the Shangxi History Museum, the famous terracotta army of the Qin dynasty, climbed the perilous peaks of Huashan, and also saw the Hoka waterfall. They toured famous attractions within the city like the Bell and Drum Tower, Huimin Street, Xujiang Pool, and the Tang Paradise, among others. Every morning, Zhang Fan went to Yongning Gate on the city wall to systematically learn Tai Chi with Yuan Yongcheng. Thanks to his extraordinary brain, by the morning of the 8th day, the old man stated that he felt completely drained and had nothing more to teach. After a brief practice session and pushing hands between an elder and a younger practitioner, they left together. Yuan Yongcheng imparted some taboos, anecdotes from within the sect, and details about notable figures from various schools of martial arts, but remained reluctant to take him on as a disciple. Having visited most of the attractions, Zhang Fan didn't feel like going out. After returning from the city wall in the morning, he stayed in the guest house. After finishing her yoga practice, Li Hong scrolled on her phone for a while and suddenly said, I need to go out. Where to? Is it far? Zhang Fan, who was also on his phone, asked. To our company's office in Xi'an. They've encountered some issues, and I need to check the situation. Li Hong's workaholic nature kicked in. We're on our honeymoon, and you still can't let go of work. Zhang Fan complained. I've spent so many days with you already, and you're also scrolling on your phone now, right? I can't argue with you. Where's your office? I'll go with you. Zhang Fan inquired. No need for you to go. I can manage it myself. Li Hong replied. Changed her clothes, picked up her bag, and left. Since writing that web crawler program, the online attacks against Li Hong had just begun to surface when they were swiftly suppressed, and of course, the identities of the attackers were inevitably exposed. This left those professional trolls, studios, and self-media creators quite frustrated, as they had all learned about Zhang Fan's prowess. Being low-key didn't mean being easy to bully. Considering the omnipresent intelligent programs and the expanding application of superintelligence, it was wise to avoid provoking such a figure. With the instigators gone, the limited buzz generated by the wedding video was quickly overshadowed by new trending events. The exposure of their identities became merely a topic for casual conversation among most people. In this internet age, someone makes headlines every day, achieving sudden fame. But most who accidentally rise to prominence are soon submerged by the next wave and disappear from public view. Without ongoing events to spark discussions, whether they are wealthy individuals, celebrities, experts, or ordinary people, they are quickly forgotten. Someone like Zhang Fan would prefer to be forgotten, while celebrities, on the contrary, rely on sustained attention to reflect their value, hence the various scandals, paid news, and hired fans to generate buzz. The latest hot news was about multiple government ministries reaching a collaboration with a tech company specializing in brainwave technology to comprehensively introduce superintelligence for daily search operations, with plans to gradually upgrade and transform the database system, eventually offering paid query services to the public. When this news was first released, it didn't attract much attention. Similar announcements had become too common, with companies, universities, and institutions routinely collaborating with the tech company to incorporate superintelligence. People had grown accustomed to it. However, with the police departments recently unveiling significant news, the value of this announcement became apparent. Within 3 days, police departments across the country launched actions, capturing hundreds of wanted criminal suspects, many of whom were fugitives from old cases. The police in Yongqing even dismantled over a dozen large underground money laundering operations, freezing bank accounts numbering in the tens of thousands and seizing involved funds amounting to hundreds of billions of yuan, shocking the nation. A spokesperson from the Public Security Department stated that this is just the beginning. Future actions will continue to deepen, thoroughly severing the underground channels of fund circulation, both domestically and internationally, preventing overseas gambling and fraud groups from continuously exploiting resources from within the country, and ensuring that illegal income from corrupt officials and various criminals cannot hide. This is truly just the start. In recent days, the Disciplinary Inspection Commission has consecutively released several announcements regarding investigations into numerous provincial and ministerial officials. Once such announcements are made, the careers of the involved officials are essentially over. Local disciplinary inspection commissions have also begun taking action, involving even more officials. Such news is certainly a thunderclap for those involved, but for Zheng Fan, it feels distant. He is not an official, does not engage in money laundering, and does not commit crimes. He has never done anything shameful, so he isn't startled by midnight knocks on the door. Of course, he still feels a bit of achievement, as he is the inventor of superintelligence, which can be considered an indirect contribution to social progress. The rental accommodation they are staying in is a small, independent courtyard with all the necessary amenities: a bedroom, study, gym, kitchen, and bathroom, as well as a small yard of about 70 to 80 square meters, featuring a swing, a grape trellis, plenty of greenery, potted plants, and a reclining rattan chair. Moving the chair to the shade under the grape trellis, Zheng Fan lay down and started browsing on his phone. Before long, he dozed off. He was awakened by the sound of a phone ringing. Picking up the phone that had fallen on the ground, he was surprised to see it was the producer Huang Zhu calling. They hadn't been in touch since he worked as a stand-in. Why did she think to call him now? Zheng Fan, it's Huang Zhu. Do you remember me? Yes, I remember. What is up? Congratulations on your marriage. I just found out, but unfortunately, I didn't receive your invitation, so I can't be there to celebrate. Huang Zhu said politely. Thank you, I appreciate it. We didn't plan a big event, mainly just to inform the elders in the family. Their views are still quite traditional. Your company, Brainwave Media, and our Tianmen Film and Television are about to release our first collaborative drama. You know about it, right? Huang Zhu asked. Is it that one about the god of war from the Tang dynasty? Yes. Make sure to watch it and give us your feedback. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Zheng Fan recalled his fleeting idea to create a movie about Li Jing's life using video from the game. He extracted hundreds of hours of footage. But when it came to actually doing it, he realized he needed a script and knowledge of editing. While he could learn editing, he felt he wasn't cut out for script writing, so after some research, he ultimately gave up. Later, when the company restructured, Brainwave Media was established on his suggestion, and he facilitated a partnership with Huang Zhu's company, handing over the video materials and unfinished scripts, and then he stopped paying attention to it. He learned via company emails that Gao Hua had brought in a well-known industry figure, Xie Bo, as the president, and that Brainwave Media had rented an office near Choingmen and officially started operations. The first work was based on the materials he had gathered, though he didn't understand why a movie had turned into a TV series. Zheng Fan initially thought that Huang Zhu was calling specifically about this matter, but unexpectedly, she started to ask in a roundabout way about the wedding videos circulating online, inquiring whether there was a way to remove those negative comments. It was then that he realized her intention. The previous conversation was just a prelude. This was the main issue. Chapter 128. There's a head. Zheng Fan thought for a moment. There was no need to hide this matter. Over time, everyone would know. And it couldn't be concealed. I wrote a small program that can automatically search for those violating accounts and take screenshots as evidence for reporting. Huang Zhu seemed particularly interested in this, her voice unconsciously rising a bit. Isn't it supposed to be solved with advanced intelligence? This is a personal matter. How can we casually use company resources? Zheng Fan replied somewhat displeased. Can you authorize us to use this program? The potential market is huge, and many public figures would be willing to pay. Huang Zhu didn't mind his tone. I'll think about it. I'm not sure if it's legally feasible yet. After ending the call with Huang Zhu, Zhang Fan pondered for a bit and sent a message to his legal advisor, Chen Fei, asking for her opinion from a legal standpoint. He had spent tens of thousands over the year without consulting her. It felt like a waste. Unexpectedly, Chen Fei replied quickly. Within half an hour, there are no legal prohibitions regarding this. Theoretically, it's feasible. However, to mitigate risks, it's best to establish a company and authorize it under the company's name. The income might be slightly less, but the security would be higher. Zhang Fan asked Chen Fei if she was interested and then completely handed the matter over to her. He didn't care much about how much money he could make. If the program was utilized well, it could indeed prevent many innocent people from suffering harm. So why not? In the afternoon, Li Hong returned from outside with a cheerful demeanor, humming a tune and walking with a much lighter step. What has got you so happy? Did something good happen? The problem is solved. Of course I'm happy. How did you solve it? This is your first time in Xi'an, right? You don't have any acquaintances here. Did you do it just because you're the vice president? Zhang Fan asked curiously. Li Hong shot him a glance and said, You still don't know, do you? Our intelligent diagnostic system is being used in many hospitals here, with a higher adoption rate than in Yanjing. However, the medical robots haven't been deployed in several major hospitals yet because the nurses oppose it, fearing they might lose their jobs. So you stepped in and used your personal experience to persuade them, right? Zhang Fan continued. Sort of. It wasn't really me persuading them. It was more about the bargaining between the nurses and the hospital management. Some smaller hospitals do plan to cut nursing staff, while large hospitals don't lack patients. Especially with the intelligent diagnostic system coming online, leading to an increase in hospitalized patients. The nurses just needed a promise from the management, and I merely helped them both find a way out. Li Hong was quite clear-headed and didn't arrogantly assume it was all her credit. Are you going back tomorrow? Why? Do you have somewhere else to go? Li Hong asked. The house in Dali has been vacated. We can go there early. Can't you stand to see me working? Li Hong replied dissatisfied. Work is never-ending. A good rest is essential to work better. Zhang Fan earnestly advised. All right then. Li Hong reluctantly agreed. You haven't been to the city wall, have you? No. When would I have the time? If you haven't climbed the city wall, it doesn't count as having been to Xi'an. Come on, I'll take you to explore the city wall. Zhang Fan took Li Hong up to the city wall, rented 2 bicycles, and rode around the wall while explaining its history to her. They even asked a passerby to help take a photo together. Zhang Fan, not liking to take pictures due to his plain appearance, was the opposite of Li Hong, who was very enthusiastic about photography. Whenever she visited a place, if she didn't take photos, it felt like she hadn't been there at all. Zhang Fan could help with her personal photos, and he had already mastered photography and editing skills on his phone. Every time they went somewhere, they had to take a couple's photo. Fortunately, few could refuse a beautiful woman's requests. If someone did, they could just ask another person, as there were always many kind-hearted people willing to help at tourist spots. After returning from the city wall, they packed their bags, checked out, and hailed an empty taxi to Xianyang Airport. Zhang Fan had already booked 2 business-class tickets for a direct flight to Kunming. When they checked in and boarded, the business class was nearly empty. With only the 2 of them, as it wasn't a holiday, the flight lasted just over 2 hours, and when they got off the plane, they were unexpectedly stopped by a flight attendant. Mr. Zhang, Mrs. Zhang, may we take a photo with you? With us? Li Hong asked, a bit puzzled. Yes. You two are well-known figures. Mr. Zhang is a pioneer of the artificial intelligence era. It is our honor to serve you. The flight attendant's words were quite pleasant to hear. Since Li Hong was currently keen on taking photos and the compliments were so nice, she naturally couldn't refuse. So she took a photo with the crew members. Once they exited the airport, they headed straight to the hotel they had booked. They planned to spend the first 2 days in Kunming before heading to Dali. Yunnan is a famous tourist province with many attractions in Kunming. Zhang Fan didn't want to tire himself out. So on the first day, he took Li Hong to visit the Dounan Flower Market, an ethnic village, and a zoo. On the second day, they climbed Shishan to enjoy the scenery of Dianqi Lake and strolled through the night market to try local snacks, especially the famous crossing the bridge rice noodles. On the third day, they took the high-speed train to Dali and arrived at the homestay they had reserved by Irai Lake. This place was actually a privately renovated vacation residence. They heard that it was meant for their honeymoon, and the location Lu Yifan had arranged for Zhang Fan was right by Irai Lake, very close to Dali City, in a small town down a secluded stone alley. The seaside house allowed them to enjoy the beautiful views of Tsangshan and Irai Lake without the hustle and bustle of popular tourist spots. There was a terrace by the water for tea and reading, a leisurely way to spend their days. The bedroom had a full arc-shaped glass wall facing Irai Lake, and the spacious yard included a garage with a convertible sports car and an off-road vehicle, both bearing the famous 3-pointed star logo, which they could use freely to explore the attractions around Irai Lake or drive further to Lijiang. The house was even better than Zhang Fan had imagined, and he felt a sudden urge to buy it for long-term living. Li Hong was also very satisfied, and after they unpacked their bags, she eagerly pulled Zhang Fan to explore the streets of the town. It was not yet noon, and the small town was bustling with tourists. After visiting several shops featuring ethnic crafts and local delicacies, the two were already full. They were newly purchased sun hats. And Zhang Fan had bought a few pieces of traditional tie-dye clothing, along with some oddly shaped little dolls. Where should we go in the afternoon? This town is so small. We've seen it all in 2 hours. Li Hong asked. I just realized you're quite impatient. We're here to relax, so why the rush? Is your idea of relaxation just playing on your phone in a different place? Li Hong laughed. How about this? Let us turn off our phones. Stay here on the terrace and enjoy the view. What do you think? I can practice yoga. Can you just daze away for an afternoon? Li Hong was skeptical. Why not? You think I'm dazing off, but I'm actually reading. I have so many books in my head. I just never have the time to read. Zhang Fan replied. If you haven't read them, how did you get them in there? I can memorize a book after reading it once, but to truly understand, I need to take my time. It's similar to how cows graze. Li Hong burst out laughing. Cows have 4 stomachs. Do you have 4 heads? How do you know I don't? I only see 1 head. My other heads aren't in this world, so of course, you can't see them. Zhang Fan suddenly said, not even knowing why he said that. Haha, so where are they? In the sky? Li Hong laughed heartily. Maybe. Then you're impressive. Others are cross-border singing kings, and you're cross-border with heads. In the afternoon, they indeed didn't go out. Li Hong organized her clothes and then practiced yoga, while Zhang Fan sat comfortably on the terrace chair, gazing at the Tsongshan Mountain and Arai Lake. Not really dazing off, but reading. He was trying to read a book he had memorized long ago but never quite understood, The Interpretation of Dreams. Chapter 129, Dreaming. Daytime thoughts lead to nighttime dreams. In the evening, Zhang Fan, who usually rarely dreams, started to dream. He was unaware he was dreaming. Li Hong was driving a convertible, taking him on a scenic tour by Arai Lake, which was actually their plan for the next day. They didn't see any forks in the road, and the car surprisingly drove into the mountains, even passing through a long, unlit tunnel. Then they arrived at a beautiful place, with vast fields of blooming yellow rapeseed flowers. A straight road, endlessly long and only 7 or 8 meters wide, stretched on as their car drove for a long time, flanked by endless fields of yellow flowers. Strangely, both of them remained excited, without any sense of impatience. Just when Zhang Fan realized he was dreaming, he suddenly woke up, checking his phone. It was exactly the time he usually wakes up for his morning exercise. In the summer, it gets light early, and the second day in Xi'an, he had changed his waking time to a little after 5. He wondered how long this simple dream lasted. Did it last all night? Or did it just start before he woke up? Freud said dreams are the fulfillment of wishes, desires that haven't been realized in reality. What wish did this simple dream fulfill? Traveling with Li Hong? That was a wish already fulfilled. Having her accompany him on the trip according to his wishes? No matter how dull the whole journey might be, this thought was indeed a bit selfish. Zhang Fan felt guilty. On the road by the lake, there were far more people jogging than on the city walls, with men, women, and children of all ages. Zhang Fan picked up his pace, overtaking one person after another. He passed through the park, ran over the White Bridge, and continued along the ecological corridor by the lake until he reached the ancient town, where he stopped to admire the beauty of the sunrise before turning back. The vast scenery of the lake opened Zhang Fan's heart, and without the constraints he felt on the city walls, he ran freely. His speed caught the attention of passers-by, and their surprised gazes were soon left behind. The occasional indulgence felt incredibly refreshing. As he neared the small town, Zhang Fan slowed down and jogged back to the alley, returning to the guest house on foot. He tiptoed to the bathroom to take a shower. This was the first time he had given it his all during his morning run, covering what he estimated to be the length of a marathon in just over 70 minutes, a feat that would leave many professional athletes astonished. After showering and changing into loose clothing, Zhang Fan sat cross-legged on the terrace, gazing at the rippling waters before him. With a thought, he closed his eyes, and his entire body and mind instantly entered a state of clarity, the first time since conducting experiments with Lu Yifan and others. This time, there were no constraints or need to control time. When Zhang Fan opened his eyes again, he saw the sunset slowly disappearing behind the mountains. Realizing he had been sitting in silence all day, he could hear Li Hong cooking in the kitchen, the aroma of scallions frying wafting through the air, and he felt an indescribable sense of relaxation. Oh, you're awake, immortal? Li Hong joked when she saw him at the kitchen door. Sorry for taking up your whole day. Zhang Fan apologized. No need to apologize. I drove around the lake myself. It was so much fun. You just keep practicing. Li Hong replied. That's good. When you go out to play, happiness is the most important thing. Don't always be in a rush like you're clocking in for work. Zhang Fan couldn't help but lecture again. Don't you find that contradictory? You say happiness is the most important, yet don't rush. I like to be busy. Since I'm here, I want to visit all the scenic spots. Otherwise, isn't that a wasted trip? Li Hong countered. I must have misunderstood. I thought you were okay with going anywhere for fun. Zhang Fan quickly admitted his mistake. At first, it didn't matter where we went. But now I've discovered the joy of checking in and taking photos. Life is not just about the mundane. There are truly poems and distant places. Li Hong rarely expressed such sentiments, but the poems and distant places she referred to were a bit different from Zhang Fan's expectations. This shows you've grown again. Congratulations. Li Hong, she exclaimed. Serve the dishes. It's time to eat. All right. The table was filled with various snacks Li Hong had brought back, along with dishes she had cooked. Soup and steamed rice. Since increasing his exercise, Zhang Fan's appetite had been quite large. Every time Li Hong finished eating, he was the one responsible for finishing off the leftovers, usually consuming more than double her portion. After dinner, the two of them took a walk by the lake, discussing their upcoming itinerary. This time, Zhang Fan remained silent, listening to Li Hong enthusiastically talk about their plans. First, they would go to a city in the north, driving for 2 hours to explore the ancient town, then head to a famous mountain, spend the night there. And the next day visit a lake that was a bit difficult to reach, taking 4 hours to drive from the previous city, which meant a total of 8 hours round trip, taking up a whole day. On the third day, they would go to a famous gorge and then to a region known for its beautiful scenery. On the fourth day, they would set off from there to a snow-capped mountain and then return to rest for a day before heading to another direction for a trip that would also take 4 to 5 hours by car. Li Hong, clearly in her element after her awakening, laid out the subsequent schedule in great detail, leaving no room for waste. Noticing Zhang Fan's silence, Li Hong asked, Hey, speak up. What do you think of my plan? It sounds good, very organized, and the timing seems reasonable. Let us go with it. We'll set off for the north tomorrow, Zhang Fan replied, suppressing his urge to lecture and reluctantly agreeing. I'll take care of the hotel booking, Li Hong assured. Don't skimp on the accommodation. Just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's good, but cheap places usually aren't that great. Zhang Fan couldn't help but remind her. Got it, I'm not a child. Li Hong shot him a glance, clearly displeased. That night before going to bed, Li Hong instructed Zhang Fan not to exercise in the morning, but to wake her up so they could leave early and not waste time. Planning to have breakfast once they arrived. All the clothes and luggage they would need were already packed in the car. The next day, just after 5, they hit the road. The early morning in July in Yunnan still held a hint of chill. They closed the car doors and turned on the air conditioning to warm up. Dressed in jeans, Li Hong looked like a seasoned driver. They got on the highway from the toll station and quickly reached the maximum speed limit of 120 kilometers per hour. She was much more relaxed than when she first bought the car and even had time to chat with Zhang Fan, saying, This car is great to drive. The acceleration is fantastic. Of course, it costs over 2 million, so it better be good. Zhang Fan replied. How about you buy me one of these cars when we go back? Li Hong rarely made such a request. If you're just using it to commute, it's totally unnecessary. It wastes fuel and doesn't showcase the car's other advantages. Zhang Fan disagreed. See, men change after getting married. Li Hong pouted. If you like the feeling of a powerful car, you could get a sports car. It's flashier and has even more power, and it would be more expensive. Zhang Fan quickly clarified that he wasn't being stingy. Forget it. Li Hong turned her head away and ignored him. At that moment, a sign indicated an upcoming tunnel with a speed limit of 80 km/h, and Li Hong quickly reduced her speed. The car plunged into darkness as they entered the tunnel. Zhang Fan felt a bit confused. He hadn't said he wouldn't buy the car, and he certainly wasn't reluctant to spend money on her. What was there to be upset about? Chapter 130. Living every day, standing in a tall building. I watched the little ants below. Their heads are large, and their legs are thin. My poor Jeep hasn't gone off-roading or crossed any rivers for a long time. It's feeling quite stifled in this city. Although it hasn't said anything, I know it's sad. Seeing Li Hong angry and ignoring me while focusing on driving, Zhang Fan, was at a loss. I decided to play How Yun's song Alive on the car stereo to let her understand my feelings. The sound system was excellent, and the music was captivating. Li Hong even hummed along, yet she still wouldn't acknowledge me. Frustrated, I turned to admire the scenery outside. The highway from Dali to Lijiang is beautiful, with stunning views on both sides. The main road stretches 192 kilometers, featuring 4 lanes in both directions, built to withstand an intensity of seismic activity of level 8. The route passes through Dali City, Yuyuan County, Jianchuan County, and Yulong Nashi Autonomous County. To navigate through the towering mountains, hundreds of bridges of various sizes have been constructed, along with over a dozen tunnels. Almost half of the nearly 200 kilometers of roadway is elevated, while 1/5 runs through various tunnels. Today's weather is fantastic, with a clear blue sky. Just after exiting a tunnel, we were greeted by rare patches of lush green farmland on both sides of the road, with deep green forests on the mountains in the distance and scattered village buildings. We soon came across a service area, where Li Hong parked next to a gas pump, turned off the engine, unbuckled her seatbelt, and went off to the restroom without a word. I took the initiative to refuel, having left the service area. We had already driven more than half the distance and were about to enter the urban area of Lijiang. Similar to Dali, The so-called Lijiang ancient town scenic area occupies only a part of the city. Most of the area is still dominated by various modern buildings. However, this city is indeed different from others, with a significantly high proportion of ancient architecture. The numerous ancient buildings share a unified style, creating a harmonious and aesthetically pleasing sight. We checked into a resort hotel close to the ancient town area, enjoying a luxurious king-sized room at a discounted rate since it wasn't a holiday. While having breakfast in the hotel restaurant, I suggested, if we plan to go to Yulong Snow Mountain today, it's best to set off right after eating so we can explore the ancient town when we return. That way, we'll have more time. All right. Li Hong, who had been acting aloof, nodded in agreement, but then complained. You didn't even try to comfort me. I don't even know why you're upset. How can I cheer you up? I was puzzled. Maybe I was a bit unreasonable, Li Hong reflected. Is it because I didn't agree to buy you a car? I asked. Li Hong nodded and then shook her head, saying, it's about the attitude, not about buying a car. Forget it. It's my mindset that's off. I've noticed you've changed a bit. Is this the difference of being a married woman? I mumbled. You're really insufferable. Can't I even give you a cold shoulder? Li Hong exclaimed angrily, prompting me to quickly escape. Yulong Snow Mountain is very close to Lijiang City. It took less than 40 minutes to drive there. Fortunately, I had booked tickets in advance for the Glacier Cableway. Otherwise, we would have wasted our trip, as the snow-capped mountain, rising over 4,000 meters, does not allow for free climbing. Wearing the cold-resistant clothing provided by the scenic area and carrying a few small oxygen tanks, they took the cable car directly to the glacier park at an altitude of 500 meters. Fortunately, neither of them experienced altitude sickness, so they continued their ascent. Climbing up the newly repaired steps, they spent another 10 minutes finally reaching the peak at 680 meters. On the spacious viewing platform, they looked around and felt it was really not the best time to be there. The snow-capped mountains were somewhat misleading, with large areas of bare rock exposed, which was quite different from their expectations. Looking down from the summit, surrounded by swirling clouds and mist, the experience felt entirely different. Much more expansive than being at lower altitudes. Taking photos and group pictures was a must. It wasn't as cold as they had imagined. Li Hong took off her cold-resistant outfit and posed in several positions under a large rock engraved with 4680, then asked someone to help take a group photo. After checking in at this spot, they turned around to head down. Both of them were in great shape and still full of energy. After descending, they took the cable car to several other spots, including Yak Khao Flat, Snowflake Temple, Spruce Flat, and Blue Moon Valley. Yak Khao Flat was quite far. The shuttle and cable car rides took about 2 to 3 hours round trip. After climbing to the top and wandering around for an hour, it was indeed a long trek, and the photos turned out quite average, leaving Li Hong feeling disappointed. The scenery at Spruce Flat and Blue Moon Valley was much better, with tall spruce forests, herds of cattle and sheep, and crystal-clear blue lakes. They took many beautiful photos, which made it worth the trip. By the time they visited a few scenic spots, half the day had already passed. After returning from the snow-capped mountains, they explored the ancient city, visiting places like Cherry Blossom Restaurant, Oil Paper Alley, Square Street, Wenchang Palace, the Great Water Wheel, Dian Flower Alley, and the Big Stone Bridge, checking in at each location. They didn't stay at any one place for more than half an hour, quickly taking photos and moving on, treating it purely as a check-in. Li Hong was full of energy and enjoying the exploration, while Zhang Fan felt physically fine but mentally exhausted. When they returned to the hotel, it was still light outside. After resting for over an hour and charging their phones, Li Hong pulled Zhang Fan to the night market nearby. Each place had its own specialty snacks, which might not suit everyone's taste and could easily lead to disappointment. In the end, they opted for the most popular choice, barbecue from various regions, to fill their stomachs. They also found some nice little souvenirs at the night market before heading to the bar street. They checked out several trendy bars, taking pictures of the signs even if they didn't actually go inside, which left Zhang Fan feeling amused. At one bar entrance, Zhang Fan stubbornly refused to take a photo, feeling it wasn't a proper tourist spot. Seeing his reluctance, Li Hong didn't insist, which saved them time to visit more places. They wandered until after 11 at night, catching up on a few spots that weren't suitable for photos during the day. They successfully completed all their plans for the day and happily headed back to rest. The next day, they woke up early again, around 5 o'clock. Watching Li Hong sleepily brushing her teeth and washing her face, Zhang Fan suggested, Lugu Lake is quite far. Let us not rush. Let us check out here and stay overnight there. All right, I'll go with your suggestion. Li Hong sleepily agreed. Fortunately, neither of them took their clothes out of the suitcases. After a quick tidy-up, they checked out at the front desk and got back on the road. Seeing that Li Hong looked like she hadn't fully woken up, Zhang Fan directly pushed her to the back seat, reclined her seat, and let her continue sleeping. He took the driver's seat himself. With the auto-driving feature, why suffer the hassle? Sometimes he really didn't understand what she was thinking. It was hard to believe that a $2 million car didn't have a panoramic camera. To modify the auto-driving feature, the car had been equipped with a panoramic system. Fortunately, the owner wasn't too short on money, and the modifications were quite impressive. Zhang Fan checked everything and found no issues, then commanded the car to drive automatically. The auto-driving system had evolved significantly over the past 6 months. The number of vehicles equipped with various loading methods had already surpassed 100 million, and the high-precision maps collected were nearly everywhere vehicles could reach worldwide. With various commercial satellite information completing the data, the maps now covered every corner of the globe. Even without internet access, AI-based self-driving cars could reach their destinations more safely than humans. Chapter 131. Lugu Lake. The journey from Lijiang to Lugu Lake took nearly 4 hours, covering just over 200 kilometers, even though they were taking a longer route on the highway. If they had taken regular roads, it would have been several dozen kilometers longer, though that route would be more scenic. The auto-driving system had accumulated driving experience from over 100 million vehicles, amounting to nearly 3 trillion kilometers. Although it had only been around for 6 months, its driving skills had already surpassed those of all human drivers. Sitting in the driver's seat, Zhang Fan browsed through various hotels and guest houses he found since they had decided on a whim to stay there and weren't sure if they could book a room. Surprisingly, even though the attraction was somewhat remote, there were quite a few hotels and guest houses available. It wasn't a holiday, so rooms weren't in such high demand, and there were many options to choose from. He selected a lakeside hotel with a Lakeview King room, placed the order, and also updated the auto-driving system's destination, hoping this so-called star-rated hotel wouldn't disappoint. Thanks to the auto-driving feature and the luxury car's excellent shock absorption system, Li Hong slept soundly throughout the trip. After a full day of sightseeing yesterday, she clearly wasn't feeling too refreshed. It was likely the dopamine in her system that kept her excited yesterday, but now she needed more rest to recover. It wasn't until after 8 o'clock, just a few minutes before reaching their destination, that she finally woke up, yawned, stretched, and rubbed her eyes as she sat up, squinting to ask, "Where are we? Let me drive." "No need, you can snooze a bit more. We'll be there soon." Zhang Fan replied. I've had enough sleep. I'm awake now." Li Hong yawned again, then climbed from the back seat to the passenger seat and buckled her seatbelt. By the time they arrived at the hotel, Li Hong was completely awake and full of energy again. After completing the check-in procedures, Zhang Fan followed the hotel staff to drop off their luggage while Li Hong headed straight to the restaurant to place an order. They had steamed buns and lean meat congee for breakfast, and once they finished eating, they didn't waste any time and began their lakeside journey. They arrived at a wonderful time, from July to September, which is the season when the water level of the lake is at its peak. The weather was also clear, with blue skies and crystal clear waters, creating a picturesque paradise. The lake is nestled among mountains and has historically been difficult to access, preserving its pristine ecology. It is located at the border of 2 provinces, with the eastern shore belonging to one province and the western shore to another. This lake is the 3rd deepest freshwater lake in the country, with the deepest point exceeding 100 meters and an average depth of over 40 meters. The lake covers an area of more than 50 square kilometers, with a perimeter of over 70 kilometers, surrounded by several villages inhabited by around 10,000 people from 7 different ethnic minorities. In recent years, as living standards have improved, tourism has increased, and this area has been discovered due to its proximity to a well-known city. This remote corner has attracted a large number of visitors because of its original ecological environment and the last matriarchal society of the Masawa people. Due to their small population, the Masawa were not recognized as an independent ethnic group after the establishment of the nation. Instead, they were categorized under larger nearby ethnic groups based on their origins and customs. Not all of them practiced the walking marriage system. The Masawa people on the western side of the lake fall under a different ethnic classification, while those on the eastern side are categorized under another. Most of the Masawa still maintain the tradition of non-marriage for men and women. The entire family is connected through maternal lineage, where women do not marry out, and men do not take wives. Upon reaching adulthood, they engage in walking marriages, where women invite chosen men to spend the night, leaving before dawn. The men are not responsible for raising the children, who are instead cared for by the woman's siblings. For the Masawa, uncles play a more significant role in the family than fathers. One of their customs is that the uncle oversees rituals while the mother manages finances. A common saying among the Masawa is, "The eagle in the sky is the biggest, the uncle on the ground is the most important." A large family can consist of dozens or even hundreds of people, all related by blood, growing up together without outside influences, creating a close-knit community. The partners in walking marriages are not as chaotic as outsiders might think. They are often one-on-one fixed partners, simply living separately, which helps maintain a pure relationship without the friction from daily life. If feelings fade, they may end the relationship and seek other partners, but this is not common. The previously isolated environment has allowed such traditions to persist for thousands of years. However, With the opening of transportation and increasing interaction with the outside world, the Masawa's traditions are facing more challenges. Nowadays, many who engage in walking marriages also apply for marriage certificates. Although they do not hold grand ceremonies and continue to live within their respective extended families, children are still raised and educated by the mothers. Walking marriages are not as clandestine as legends suggest. Men do not have to sneak in through windows and must leave before dawn. They typically visit at night and leave during the day, but the relationships are open from the start, and children know who their fathers are and can visit them, though they are not considered part of the same family. Influenced by external ideologies, many people wish to live together with their partners. In such cases, it is often the man who moves in, or the couple independently establishes a family, leading a life similar to that of ordinary people outside. With the widespread education now, many Masawa people go out to study and end up living and working outside, making it impossible to continue such customs. As more and more tourists visit Lugu Lake, some Masawa couples have opened ghost houses and restaurants by the lake. How long they can maintain their traditional customs remains a question. Zheng Fan and Li Hong drove through Daoshui village and reached the Lugu Lake viewing platform, said to be the best spot to appreciate the lake's beauty, which indeed was stunning. They continued their lakeside tour, passing around the west side of the lake, visiting the village of Rige on the north side, where they checked in at the quaint Rige Peninsula, then drove to Nisai village. They took a cable car to the highest mountain surrounding the lake, Goddess Mountain, and visited the so-called highest karst cave in the country, the Goddess Cave, which is over 400 meters above sea level. After exiting the cave, they admired the view from the mountaintop, which was even more beautiful, providing a complete view of the entire Lugu Lake. They continued their lakeside journey, passing through Zhaoyuashui village and Daju village, and stopped at Lover's Beach, which is covered in pebbles. Here, the water is crystal clear, and the lakeside offers the widest view. Surrounded by the mountains of Holong, Goddess Bay lies opposite the Goddess Mountain they had just visited, known for its beautiful sunsets, though they arrived at noon. The weather was perfect, and the photos they took turned out beautifully. According to legend, Gomu and Holong were a pair of celestial lovers turned into rocks by a jealous evil deity, only able to gaze at each other from afar. They can meet only once a year on the 25th day of the 7th lunar month, during the Shanshan Festival, the biggest festival for the Masawa people. On this day, they wear their finest attire to worship Goddess Mountain, singing and dancing to pray for safety and abundant harvests. And it also serves as a social occasion for young men and women to meet. There are several versions of similar myths here, but the Masawa people's worship of Goddess Gomu is well established, predating their conversion to Lamoism, which aligns with their customs that respect women. After leaving Goddess Bay, they visited the Masawa Museum, the last princess's residence, the Benbo Lama Temple, and many unnamed spots, stopping to take photos wherever they found beautiful scenery. They drove to the southeastern corner of Lugu Lake, known as the Great Grass Sea. This shallow lake is filled with reeds and various water plants. It serves as the outlet for Lugu Lake. Water only flows out during the summer when the water levels are high, while it remains a wetland for most of the year. The Walk Marriage Bridge is a wooden corridor bridge spanning the Grass Sea, about 3 meters wide, with the bridge surface less than a meter above the water, winding over 300 meters long, connecting both banks of the Grass Sea. It is said to be a popular dating spot for young Masawa couples. This area is also where they encountered the highest concentration of tourists, with couples coming and going, making many singles envious. As the afternoon approached, they reached the final stop of their lakeside tour. Halfway across the bridge, Li Hong suddenly asked, "This bridge can't accommodate cars. What about our vehicle? Do we have to go back the same way?" Chapter 132. Like-minded Zheng Fan smiled and said, "The car can detour from the east to the bridge. Don't forget about the autonomous driving. I've already sent it ahead to wait for us." Who knew autonomous driving could actually be useful? Li Hong murmured, "This is a great invention that can change the world, and you say it's just a bit useful?" Zheng Fan replied, a bit dissatisfied. "All right, I know, the invention is great, and so are you," Li Hong said, playfully like she was talking to a child. When they arrived at the dock for the marriage bridge, their car was indeed waiting by the roadside. They got in and drove along the lakeside road, heading west for over 10 minutes, before returning to the lakeside hotel they had booked. They set out from here at around 9 in the morning, and now it was after 4 in the afternoon. They had spent 7 hours circling the lake, visiting both well-known and lesser-known attractions, and took many beautiful photos. Once in their hotel room, Li Hong couldn't wait to edit the photos and post them online. She quickly received a lot of likes and envious comments, feeling quite pleased, especially her cousin, who directly initiated a video call to discuss the details and precautions from their trip, clearly eager to come and shoot on location. Li Hong excitedly shared everything she knew. Zheng Fan sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, studying the beautiful lake view and planning the next itinerary. The original plan was to return to Lijiang tomorrow and then head to Shangri-La. But he had just heard a tourist mention that it was possible to go directly to Daoqing Yading from here, which piqued his interest. 3 years ago, A movie titled Passing by Your World made this emerging destination popular. The scenery in the film looked breathtaking, and now it was only a little over 100 kilometers away in a straight line, even with the winding mountain roads. It would only be 200 to 300 kilometers. It would be a shame not to take a look. Who knows when there will be another opportunity. In fact, Zhang Fan was also a travel enthusiast, but he expressed it more subtly compared to the newly awakened Li Hong, who was more straightforward. Perhaps it was a natural process for someone who had just gained wealth. The world was so vast, and he wanted to see everything, wishing he could have it all at once. In the past, he was constrained by financial limitations, but now that he no longer had those worries, he wanted to put his plans into action. Let us enjoy the bustling world first, then come back to savor tea in tranquility, he thought. There were no direct roads between Lugu Lake and Yading. They would have to take many rural paths and winding mountain roads. It was also the rainy season now, and rain could lead to slippery roads, mudslides, falling rocks, and other uncertainties. He hesitated about whether to take the risk. There were many shared experiences online, and more than one group had successfully made the journey. Surely they wouldn't be that unlucky? Zhang Fan was eager to give it a try. At this moment, Li Hong finally ended her video call with Zhang Shuping and came over to sit beside him, asking, "Are you daydreaming again? Are you planning another adventure? How about we go directly to Yading from here?" Zhang Fan asked. "Where is Yading, and why do we need to go there?" Li Hong inquired, puzzled. Zhang Fan was a bit speechless, unsure how to explain. She probably hadn't seen that movie. Fortunately, everything is available on the phone. Li Hong quickly searched and found the most beautiful scenery there, which immediately attracted her. "Ah, so beautiful, I want to go. Let's go now?" Li Hong was a person of action. She wanted to act on her thoughts. However, after looking at the map, it seemed close. But it would take about 7 to 8 hours to walk. Setting off now would mean walking at night, which was too dangerous. If they were to go, it would have to be tomorrow morning. Zhang Fan vetoed. "All right then, I'll listen to you." Li Hong didn't insist any further. Their hotel was right next to Sanja village, which was quite lively in the evening. There were many guest houses and hotels here, and quite a few tourists were out dining at this hour. Most of the restaurants in the village were thriving. After strolling around the village, they found a popular restaurant to try the local specialty, firewood chicken. After returning from the village, it was still early to sleep, so they sat in the hotel cafe where a few guests were chatting. To their surprise, they found many like-minded travelers discussing their plans to visit Daoqing Yading. A bald man with a big beard was saying, "Last month, a friend of mine just traveled this road. It's indeed not easy, as many sections lack proper roads. However, there are no impassable sections as long as the weather isn't too bad. He drove there using autopilot, and we have 2 cars equipped with autopilot, with shared maps. So there's no need to worry about routes or operations." Another woman with her hair in a bun agreed. "Exactly. In the past, when driving on such winding mountain roads, I was always on edge. Without some skills, I wouldn't dare to go out. Now that it's all handled by autopilot, I can go anywhere. It's more reliable than any seasoned driver. Going everywhere with autopilot means you miss out on the real fun of off-roading," interjected a muscular man with a very short haircut, wearing a military green tank top. "Not everyone has your skills. Now that there's a safer method, why risk your life?" The bearded man retorted. "What time are you leaving for Daoqing tomorrow? Can you take us along?" Zhang Fan asked the bearded man. "Do you have a car? How many of you?" The bearded man turned to assess them, and the other 2 looked at them as well. "Just the 2 of us. We have a car. We can follow you, so we can help each other if there are difficulties." "That white G500 outside is yours, right?" the muscular man asked, clearly interested in the vehicle, as it was the only one of its kind in the parking lot. "Yes. So no problem. We'll set off at 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning." The bearded man agreed. The woman with the bun sitting next to the bearded man took the initiative to talk to Li Hong, inviting her to sit over. A few exchanges quickly turned them from strangers to familiar faces, and in just a few minutes, they were eagerly sharing secrets. "Your car hasn't been modified for autopilot too, has it?" the muscular man continued to ask. "It has been modified, but it's not my car. I borrowed it. I don't even have a driver's license." Zhang Fan honestly replied. "Wow. Speaking of driver's licenses makes me angry. Who's going to learn that anymore? Once autopilot came out, I don't know if drivers lost their jobs, but driving schools are hit the hardest. My instructor is done for. Can't find work. All those years of skills wasted. Sorry, I'm not targeting you." When he mentioned the driver's license, the muscular man angrily cursed, leaving Zhang Fan feeling quite embarrassed. After all, he was the one to blame. If this man knew that he was the reason for the invention of autonomous driving that led to his unemployment, would he not want to confront him? "All right, stop complaining. I saw a news report yesterday stating that out of 19,000 driving schools nationwide, over 1 million instructors have already lost their jobs, and the remaining ones won't last much longer. You're not the only one," the bearded man advised. "Artificial intelligence replacing human jobs is an irreversible trend for the future. People will live more easily, no longer needing to work every day just to make ends meet. They will have more time to travel like us or do things they are truly interested in. Zheng Fan explained earnestly. I understand the reasoning, but the problem is, without jobs, where will the money come from? It's hard to make a living, let alone travel. You make it sound as easy as a news broadcast. The muscular man scoffed. Have you heard of brain finance? Zheng Fan asked. Oh, you're here waiting for me, selling financial products. Dude, you're a bit heartless. I'm already unemployed, and you're still thinking about my savings. The muscular man laughed. Chapter 133. Financial products. The bearded bald man is named Fu Tong. The woman with the bun is called Wang Lily, and the muscular man's name is Lei Xian. They are all friends from the same city. And this time they planned a self-driving trip together with a group of 9 people in 3 cars. A few others who went out to play have not returned yet. So it's just the 3 of them here. Several people were listening to their conversation, and upon hearing Lei Xian's words, Wang Lily retorted, you don't understand. So don't talk nonsense. Brain finance is different from other financial software. How do I not understand? Over the years, there have been plenty of internet financial products. They all claim to be unique, hiring celebrities for endorsements, boasting about how good they are, how much profit they make, but in reality, they are just different ways to fleece people. Once they made enough money, they collapse, and the owners run away, leaving people unable to get their money back. Who knows what kind of scams they are feeding people? Lei Xian was even more furious, possibly having suffered significant losses. I have some authority to speak on this matter. A friend of mine has a friend who works at Brain Finance. They said this software was developed by the same person who created autonomous driving. The purpose of this software is to address the income issues of unemployed individuals like you. It has limitations. You can deposit a maximum of 300,000. If you exceed that, you can't deposit more. Once your balance reaches 500,000, including principal and interest, it stops growing. If you deposit 100,000, I guarantee you'll earn at least 10,000 in a year. Fu Tong spoke mysteriously. You're thinking about their interest, while they are concerned about your principal. It's the same old trick, Lei Xian dismissed. That's why you lack vision. You always think from your own narrow perspective about others' intentions. They legally charge fees and earn steadily, which is much more profitable than scamming your savings with a one-time deal. They are on par with major companies in the market. Brain Finance has only been launched for over 2 months and has already raised over 300 billion in funds. Have you seen their advertisements? Let alone hiring celebrities for endorsements. They don't want to expand too quickly. How can this compare to those small-time financial software? Wang Lily mocked Lei Xian. They need to earn 30 billion a year to pay the interest. What if they can't make money? Won't that lead to a collapse? Financial management carries risks. Even a fool knows that. Banks can fail too, can't they? Aren't you going to deposit your money? Wang Lily retorted. I only save in big banks, which are backed by the state. You know big banks have guarantees, but do you know who the shareholders of Brain Finance are? The 4 major banks, social security funds, and the top 10 banks in the world. Are they all fools? Wang Lily understood quite well. So how much have you deposited? Have you made any money? Lei Xian still wasn't convinced, his tone softening significantly. My grandparents, my parents, and I have all registered accounts. I invested 1.5 million and have already made over 100,000 in profit. Wang Lily said proudly. Fu Tong, who had been watching their argument, said, you really are willing to invest. I have insider information, but I don't have your courage. I only invested 600,000. In the initial stages, this kind of software has the highest profits. As the principal increases, the profits decrease. The earlier you invest, the earlier you reap the benefits. Wang Lily was quite clear-headed. You guys are just bolder because you have money. I don't even have 300,000. How can I have the guts to invest in this? Lei Xian said sourly. We're all working class. No one has it easy. I've also dug into my elderly relative's savings. Wang Lily said with a bitter smile. Actually, you should be the one investing. It counts as income and prevents you from living off your savings. Fu Tong advised Lei Xian. Let me wait until my wife comes back. I'll discuss it with her. Lei Xian was persuaded. Zheng Fan thought he was single. He didn't expect the guy to have a 10-year-old son. Their temporary group consisted of Fu Tong and Lei Xian, both of whom brought their wives and children. Fu Tong had a 15-year-old daughter, Lei Xian had a 10-year-old son, and Wang Lily was traveling with 2 female friends. The 3 women were friends with Fu Tong and Lei Xian's wives, and they had gathered together for fun. By the way, I haven't asked your name yet, buddy. What should I call you? Fu Tong turned to Zheng Fan, who had been quiet. Zheng Fan. The common character Fan. No way. You can't be that scientist we were just talking about. The one who invented self-driving cars. Fu Tong exclaimed in surprise. That's me. But I'm not a scientist. I'm just a programmer. What you mentioned has a lot to do with luck. Zheng Fan had to modestly smile and admit it. Come on. If you're really Zheng Fan, such a big shot only comes out to play with 2 people? I don't believe it. Lei Xian was the first to refute. I don't want to admit it. Our wedding video is online, and such a lie can be easily exposed. Zheng Fan said helplessly. Wang Lily quickly took out her phone to search, And sure enough, the first result was their wedding video. After opening it and comparing, it was indeed the same. It's hard to confirm just one person, but it's not easy to find a couple who look alike. It really is them. The other two leaned in to watch the video, and it was indeed them. Though they were made up for the wedding, it was still easy to recognize them. Especially since it was only half a month ago. Oh, now I have something to brag about with my friends. I can say I know you too. It will surely drop their jaws. Fu Tong excitedly rubbed his bald head. Is that brain finance really able to make money? Lei Xian asked eagerly. Wang Lili, dissatisfied, replied to Lei Xian, do you think the big shot personally recommended it just to trick you out of a little money? Just mentioning our names is enough. We've always been ordinary people and still don't feel superior. The original intention of brain finance is indeed, as Fu Tong said, to provide more security for unemployed or low-income groups. The capability for super-intelligent information gathering and analysis is likely to achieve that. But since this is something that has never been done before, superintelligence also needs to learn and accumulate real experience. Which is why the entry threshold is set a bit higher. Profits may vary, but you absolutely don't have to worry about the safety of the funds. They are under multiple layers of supervision, and all operations are executed by superintelligence. No one, including me, can touch a single cent. Zheng Fan explained patiently. The three of them tried to maintain a normal conversation, but Zheng Fan and Li Hong noticed their discomfort. After agreeing to set off at 6 in the morning, they got up and returned to their room. As soon as the two left, the three became animated. Wang Lili was the first to speak. I feel like I've seen them somewhere, but I can't recall who they are. A few days ago, I even came across their wedding video, and I was arguing with people in the comments. They seem like down-to-earth folks, not at all like wealthy people, Fu Tong said. Did you not see the news? After this round of financing, their couple's net worth exceeds $60 billion, but their company is not listed and they haven't paid dividends. They're just earning salaries now, so they might not actually have that much money. Wang Lili analyzed. Even if they have no money, they're still richer than us. Lei Xian remarked while busy downloading and registering for brain finance, worried that delaying would hinder his chance to get rich. I'm not arguing with you on this. But Lily, don't forget that brain finance was created by them. They guarantee profits with hundreds of billions in funds, even if they only have $1 million in savings. A casual investment could easily multiply tenfold or more. Fu Tong clearly had deeper thoughts. Exactly, what we desperately seek is just a number game for them. Wang Lili suddenly felt a bit disheartened. The gap between people was too vast. Chapter 134. Ongxing. Every time he arrived at a new place, he enjoyed going for a morning jog, always discovering something new and experiencing different scenery. Zheng Fan liked this feeling. He didn't run along the lakeside path, but chose a cement road about 4 to 5 meters wide, heading away from the lake. After running for over 10 kilometers, he passed through 3 small villages, the largest having no more than 100 households, while the smallest had only a dozen. Many people were already out working in the fields, and he encountered a woman herding a large cow and 2 calves. The terrain near the lake was quite flat, with small paths dividing the land into plots filled with crops. Zheng Fan recognized corn and potatoes, as well as a grain that resembled wheat, unsure if it was barley. He hadn't seen many of the other crops before. No wonder this place is also called the Land of Daughters. Most of the workers I see are women, with only a few men around. The clothes people wear are quite similar to those outside, ordinary and plain. I guess the ethnic costumes are only worn during festivals or important days. Most of the houses in the village are quite dilapidated, unlike those by the lake, where most homes are well-maintained and shiny. It seems that wealth disparity exists everywhere. As I passed by the hotel parking lot, I saw the coach I met yesterday, Lei Xian, checking the tire pressure on a Haval H9. How was the car? No issues. I asked. No problem, I've gotten used to it. You went out for a run? Lei Xian replied. Haha, I've gotten used to it too. At 6 in the morning, their temporary convoy set off on time. A bearded man from the Fu family drove a Land Cruiser at the front, followed by Lei Xian's H9, then Wang Lili and her 2 friends in a Wrangler, with Zheng Fan and Li Hong's G500 bringing up the rear. They still needed to drive around the lake to reach Dezhu village in the north. The road started off as a smooth asphalt surface, but soon turned into gravel, mostly just wide enough for one vehicle. One side was a steep cliff, the other a drop-off, and the road was uneven, making their speed barely faster than walking. The vehicle shook continuously, and Zheng Fan, sitting in the driver's seat, declined Li Hong's offer to drive. He wasn't confident in her skills. No wonder it takes 7 to 8 hours. This speed is almost like walking. 300 kilometers at this pace is already quite fast, Li Hong remarked from the passenger seat. They say we're not even halfway. There are still several stretches of asphalt. Otherwise, we wouldn't make it in a day, Zheng Fan explained. Unfortunately, even the asphalt sections weren't smooth. There were piles of fallen rocks or mudslides on many parts of the road, and in some areas, the entire surface was covered in debris. Many sections were churned up by vehicles, filled with murky water, making it impossible for low-clearance vehicles to pass. Fortunately, they were all capable off-road vehicles. and as long as there weren't too many obstructions or deep puddles, they could generally get through. After the initial excitement wore off, Li Hong dozed off against her seat as they bumped along. The road was either winding uphill or downhill, or weaving through river valleys. The entire route was a series of zigzags with countless S-curves. Although Zhang Fan had handed over control to the auto-drive, he still kept an eye out in case of emergencies, ready to hit the brakes. However, after more than 2 hours, he hadn't needed to, despite the bumps. The car maintained a steady pace, keeping a safe distance from the Wrangler ahead. They were fortunate. Since arriving in Yunnan, the weather had been clear all the way. Although the roads were challenging, the scenery was truly beautiful. Blue skies, white clouds, green mountains, lush grass, and various unknown wildflowers, along with exceptionally fresh air, showcased an untouched natural beauty along the route. After crossing a swaying steel bridge built over a river valley, the convoy was back on the asphalt road. The tedious uphill journey began again, with the dark asphalt still showing uneven surfaces due to falling rocks, and constant turns made it impossible to speed up. As they continued, the herders in front stopped, causing their vehicle to halt abruptly, which startled Li Hong, who was dozing off. "Why did we stop?" "I got out to check." "Stay in the car. It's a dangerous area with falling rocks." The area where they stopped was flanked by steep cliffs, and there were many rocks of various sizes scattered on the road. A large irregular rock, over 2 meters long and about 1 meter square, was lying diagonally in the middle of the road, effectively blocking it, leaving only a width of less than 2 meters on one side. Muscular Lei Xian pushed hard against the rock, but it didn't budge. Fu Tong joined him to push, and while the rock seemed to shift slightly, it soon became still again. "Stop wasting your energy. That rock must weigh 5 to 6 tons. Let's try a jack," Fu Tong said, giving up. "I'll help too. Let's give it another shot together." Zhang Fan rolled up his sleeves and stepped forward. Wang Lily and her 2 friends also got out of the vehicle to help, but were promptly sent back by the 3 men. They positioned themselves with Lei Xian in the middle pushing the larger side, and Fu Tong on the left pushing the smaller side. "I'll count, and we push together. 1, 2, go." The rock wobbled. 1, 2, go. It shifted even more. 1, 2, go. By the third attempt, the large rock finally rolled over with a loud crash. There was now more than 3 meters of width on the right side of the road, making it passable. "All right, let's get back in the car and go. This area is too dangerous," Lei Xian urged. Once back on the road, things went much smoother. There were fewer falling rocks, and they were getting closer to the mountain peak. Finally, they reached the summit, where the road opened up significantly, and there were large clearings on the sides. Several vehicles ahead parked in the clearing, seemingly ready to take a break. Everyone got out to stretch, and Fu Tong checked on everyone, saying, "Looks good. Seems like there are no serious altitude sickness symptoms. If anyone feels unwell, let me know. I have oxygen in the vehicle." We're over 4,000 meters above sea level. Wang Lily pointed to several snow-capped peaks to the south, saying, "That must be Yading. We're almost there. This 6-hour journey has been tough. My body feels like it's falling apart." "It should be. According to the map, Yading is about 20 kilometers south of us now." "I don't know the names of the specific peaks," Fu Tong replied. The other women and 2 children were busy recording videos, taking photos, and snapping selfies. And Li Hong was no exception. With her years of experience as a nurse, she quickly mingled with them, chatting and laughing, even getting pulled into several group photos. Lei Xian asked Zhang Fan, "You've got quite a bit of strength. If it weren't for you, we definitely couldn't have moved that rock." Zhang Fan replied confidently, "I've always been strong since I was young. Don't be fooled by your muscles. It doesn't mean you can outdo me. I find it hard to believe. Let's have an arm wrestling match to see," Lei Xian said defiantly. After hearing them, Fu Tong volunteered, "I'll be the referee." So they set up on the hood of the G500. Zhang Fan stood in front of the car, and Lei Xian stood to the right of the hood. The 2 clasped their right hands together while Fu Tong held them with both hands, saying, "Relax, relax. No one is allowed to exert force early. I will count to 3, and then you can start." People around them came over to watch the match, chattering excitedly about who had the better chance. Lei Xian's 10-year-old son shouted loudly, "Go, Dad." Chapter 135. Arm wrestling. Listen to my command. 1, 2, 3, start. Fu Tong shouted as he released their hands. The 2 gripped tightly and began to exert force. Lei Xian was quicker off the mark, gradually gaining the upper hand over Zhang Fan, and his son's cheers grew louder. "Go, Dad! Go, Dad! Go, Dad!" Of course, Zhang Fan wasn't using all his strength. He only used about 30% of his power and started to slowly turn the tide, pushing Lei Xian's hand down bit by bit. Lei Xian glared with all his might, gripping the edge of the hood tightly, his whole body leaning significantly to the left. The muscles from his jaw to his neck were visibly tense as he gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, but it was to no avail. His right hand was ultimately pressed down onto the hood by Zhang Fan. "Oh my gosh, your strength is insane." Lei Xian slumped against the car, gasping for breath. The match, lasting less than half a minute, had drained a huge amount of his energy, especially at an altitude of over 4,000 meters. Hey, Lei Xian, you weren't holding back, were you? How could such a big guy lose to him? Fu Tong was skeptical. Try it yourself. I doubt you can even manage with both hands. Lei Xian scoffed. Fu Tong had a bit of extra weight, and though his arms were thick, they were mostly fat. Even when Zhang Fan let him start first, he couldn't budge him an inch, and Zhang Fan easily pressed his right hand down. Eventually, Fu Tong really did challenge Zhang Fan with both hands, but his whole body ended up sinking down, and he too was pressed down by Zhang Fan. Having to admit defeat, his energy expenditure was even greater than Lei Xian's. He was panting heavily, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He squatted next to the car, taking half a minute to catch his breath, mumbling, "Wow, this energy expenditure is too much. Arm wrestling feels like running 1,000 meters." The group rested at the mountaintop for more than half an hour before starting their descent. The way down was smooth, without any major obstacles, and they arrived at Shangri-La Town in Daoqing County, Sichuan, after more than an hour. This Shangri-La Town was not too far from the original destination of Zhang Fan and the others, which was the capital city of Diqing Prefecture in Yunnan. The two main attractions were less than 100 kilometers apart in a straight line, with similar terrain, both located in the eastern edge of the Hengduan Mountains. However, administratively, they were not affiliated, and driving there required navigating through over 300 kilometers of mountains, which was similar to their journey from Lugu Lake. Fu Tong and the others were willing to spend money, prioritizing quality, reputation, and comfort when booking hotels. Upon arrival, they stayed at the same hotel, each returning to their rooms to settle in and rest. After more than 8 hours of bumpy mountain roads, Zhang Fan's stamina was wearing thin. Once he entered the room, he lay down with Li Hong and slept until they were awakened by hunger around 6 in the afternoon. They ventured out to stroll around the small town, looking for a place to eat and to buy some supplies and souvenirs. In a shopping mall, Zhang Fan purchased a nearly 1-meter-tall professional hiking backpack. And under the vendor's persuasion, he also bought 4 plastic raincoats, non-slip shoe covers, thermal gloves, elastic insoles, high-waisted cotton socks, and other items. "Why are you buying so much? Is it really necessary?" Li Hong asked, puzzled. "We have to hike for over 10 kilometers tomorrow, most of which involves climbing. It's better to be prepared. I have good stamina, so carrying more isn't a problem. We should also head to the supermarket to buy some food and water, and maybe get some medicine at the pharmacy," Zhang Fan replied. "Should we get a down jacket? The mountains here are taller than Yulong Snow Mountain, right?" Li Hong joked. "Good point. I almost overlooked that. I can handle the cold, but I'll buy one for you to keep in the backpack, and if it gets cold, you can wear it. Let's also get some heating pads." Zhang Fan agreed. "Really buying it? I was just joking. It's July. It shouldn't be too cold, right? Plus, hiking will make us sweat," Li Hong said. "A jacket doesn't weigh much. You pick one. I don't have a good eye for these things," Zhang Fan urged. The items here were specifically prepared for tourists, with a wide variety of styles and brands. Li Hong chose a long red down jacket, and also bought 2 warm and UV protective scarves, along with 2 pairs of sunglasses. She already had a sun hat, which saved her from buying another. After more than an hour of shopping, Zhang Fan felt that everything he saw was useful and wanted to buy it all, including hiking clothes, mountaineering boots, a hydraulic automatic tent, a thermal sleeping bag, a self-inflating moisture-proof mat, a solar charging panel, a high-brightness flashlight, a headlamp, and a multifunctional army knife. If it weren't for Li Hong stopping him, he would have also wanted to buy a climbing rope, a descender, and a multifunctional shovel, thinking it would be very handy for digging a hole in the wild. They hadn't even bought food and water yet. And Zhang Fan's newly purchased ADL backpack was already full. He held 2 pairs of shoes in his left arm and squeezed a tent under his right arm, reluctantly leaving the mall. "Let's head back first to drop off these things, grab my old smaller backpack, and then come out to buy food, drinks, and medicine," Zhang Fan said, catching up to Li Hong, who was walking ahead. Li Hong was speechless. It was just a popular tourist spot. They weren't really going camping or climbing, so all this professional equipment seemed unnecessary. In any case, they managed to prepare everything before going to bed, and the backpack was all set. They ultimately left behind items like tents and sleeping bags that were not going to be used. They wore their clothes and shoes for the next day, and all the items were packed into the hiking backpack, which Zhang Fan carried while Li Hong traveled light. In the morning, they were the first group to leave the hotel and drove for a few minutes from Shangri-La Town to the visitor center of the scenic spot. They arrived too early, and the site wasn't open yet, so they had to wait in the car. Fortunately, they had already eaten breakfast at the hotel, so they wouldn't go hungry. They heard that they would need to take a long bus ride inside, as private vehicles were not allowed. Finally, they waited until 7 o'clock for the attraction to open. They were the first group of tourists, and soon the bus was filled to capacity, heading inside. Zhang Fan's backpack was somewhat eye-catching. Although he was considered a celebrity now, his actual fame was still limited. Dressed warmly, and wearing a hat and sunglasses, he didn't stand out much among the tourists. At least half of them were similarly dressed. And apart from a few who recognized his identity, no one else knew who he was. The weather was still nice today, Zhang Fan thought to himself. Perhaps because my luck is high enough that I can see beautiful scenery wherever I go. Walking from Jiaguan to Chenggu Temple, the tourists were still full of energy. Some who were severely affected by altitude sickness had to be advised to turn back upon reaching Yading, but those who made it this far were doing fine. The scenery along the way was picturesque, and gradually most people became numb to it, unless at some popular photo spots where everyone would gather for a quick snapshot. Not many were taking pictures with their phones all the time. Even if they weren't tired, they had to consider their phone storage. Years of practicing yoga weren't in vain. Perhaps it was also due to the effects of the gaming pod. But Li Hong's physical fitness was superior to that of most men, and the two of them always stayed at the front of the tourist group. Chenggu Temple was, of course, a must-visit photo spot. It was a vast expanse of alpine meadows, lush and green in summer, and it was said that in autumn, it turned into a sea of golden yellow, even more beautiful. The area where tourists could move was limited, and they quickly finished their visit. To save time and energy, they chose to take an electric vehicle to the next stop, Lorong Cattle Farm. The weather was very accommodating. At Lorong Cattle Farm, surrounded by 3 sacred mountains, they could clearly see the majestic north peak of Xiannai Ri, south peak of Yangmaiyong, and east peak of Xianhua Duoji, consuming quite a bit of the tourist phone storage. They were the first group of tourists today, and although there were horses available, unfortunately, neither of them had ridden before, so they had to choose to walk. If so many tourists could go up and down, they certainly had no problem doing the same. By nearly 10 o'clock in the morning, they began their real hiking journey, starting from the Lorong Cattle Farm at an altitude of 180 meters. First heading to the Milk Lake at 600 meters, then to the Five Color Lake at 700 meters, and then returning. The one-way distance was over 5 kilometers, making the round trip more than 10 kilometers, which was a daunting challenge for most people who were not used to exercising, especially at such a high altitude. Chapter 136. Hiking half an hour after setting off from Lorong Cattle Farm, the line of tourists began to stretch out. Those on horseback couldn't gallop. Whether or not they knew how to ride, they could only let the locals lead the horses, moving at a speed similar to walking. If they insisted on galloping, even if they didn't fall off, it would consume a lot of energy, and they might need to be carried down before reaching their destination. Yesterday, at that mountain peak, Lei Xian and Fu Tong, 2 middle-aged strong men, had just had an arm wrestling match with Zhang Fan and were panting for quite some time afterward. Moreover, riding could only be done on the relatively flat sections at the beginning. The most challenging parts of the journey still required them to walk, and everyone had to personally measure the distance with their own legs. Loving someone means taking them to a beautiful place, and even when you dislike someone, you'd still take them there. This place is often referred to as the Civil Affairs Bureau of Scenic Spots. How could it be so easy for you to reach? Initially, there were a few physically fit couples trailing behind them, but soon they fell further and further behind. Another group, accompanied by family, had already lagged behind as well. As they walked, they spotted a few deer with short brown-gray fur, except for a small white patch near their tails. These deer were clearly accustomed to human presence and weren't afraid at all. They even approached to sniff Li Hong's hand. Zhang Fan quickly snapped a few precious photos, as it was Li Hong's first time taking pictures with wildlife, and she was as excited as a child. After bidding farewell to the deer, they continued along the newly renovated mountain path and reached the Milk Sea after a little over an hour. They were the earliest visitors of the day, and the weather was perfect. The sky was a nearly transparent blue, and the snowy mountains reflected beautifully in the stunning azure lake. However, the so-called sea was rather small. It couldn't even compare to places back home, let alone popular lakes. But it had its own charm due to its location. There was another spot called the Five Color Sea that was even more impressive. After resting and taking photos for about 10 minutes, they continued their ascent. In just over 300 meters, they climbed 100 meters in altitude within a few minutes. At this point, they were already at an altitude of 700 meters. Even Li Hong didn't have any special reaction, and Zhang Fan was perfectly fine, continuing their familiar routine of finding the best angles for photos. They enjoyed the beautiful scenery of the Five Color Sea, and the selfie stick Zhang Fan bought proved to be very useful since they couldn't find anyone to help take their picture. The clarity of the water here was truly remarkable. They had traveled all the way from Dali, passing through Arai, the Blue Moon Valley beneath the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, and then to the Milk Sea and the Five Color Sea. The most striking impression was the clarity of the water, which was exceptionally clear, one clearer than the other. Such clear water is almost non-existent in the northern regions, possibly due to their limited travel experiences. It might not even be related to regional differences, but rather human pollution. The more remote the area, the less pollution there is, allowing the water to remain clear. After taking enough photos, they began their descent. Having completed most of their day's tasks, they walked down faster and encountered a couple they had set off with, who were struggling to climb with their trekking poles. Upon seeing them, the couple merely gave a thumbs up, too tired to say anything. As they continued down, they met more and more people, each looking increasingly pained, which made them feel even more pleased. They had already seen it all, while others were still on their way up. At the spot where they had seen the deer, they found another group resting, but didn't see Wang Lily and her two friends. You two are impressive. We just reached halfway, and you're already back. How was the view up there? Lei Xian remarked upon seeing them. He and Fu Ping both had good stamina, but they were slowed down by their wives and children, making it hard for them to move quickly. You all keep it up. The scenery is just right now, and it's not too far. Zheng Fan encouraged them. Fu Tong asked, are you planning to go to Pearl Sea when you head back? You can finish that in a day? Yes, if we return early. We'll go straight to Daoqing. The next day we'll head to a place in Yunnan and won't be traveling with you anymore. We'll have to travel together next time. Thank you for your care. Zheng Fan took the opportunity to say goodbye. After exchanging a few words, Zheng Fan and Li Hong bid farewell and continued their descent. They returned to Luorong Cattle Farm by 12:30, took an electric car back to Chenggu Temple, and prepared to visit another short-distance attraction, Pearl Sea, to appreciate the majestic Xian Nai Ri Mountain up close. It was a 500-meter hike from Chenggu Temple to Pearl Sea, but the altitude was only 4,080 meters, which was 100 meters lower than Luorong Cattle Farm, so they arrived in less than half an hour. Unlike the higher Milk Sea and Five-Color Sea, Pearl Sea was surrounded by forests, and the lake appeared emerald green from a distance. They arrived at just the right time, allowing them to capture the front view of Xian Nai Ri and its reflection in Pearl Sea. This scene was said to be quite rare, and both of them were accustomed to it. After enjoying Pearl Sea, they walked 2,000 meters back over Chenggu Temple to Zhaguobang, took a vehicle back to the visitor center in Yading Village, and drove back to Shangri-La Town. When they returned to the hotel, it was only a little past 3 in the afternoon. Zheng Fan asked Li Hong, who was busy editing photos, are you tired? Are we still going to visit Daoqing today? Are there any famous attractions in Daoqing? Li Hong inquired. It seems there aren't many. The most famous places in Daoqing are the ones we visited today. There's a larger Lama temple over there, Zheng Fan replied after thinking. Then what is the point of going? We don't believe in Lama teachings, so let's skip it and head back to Yunnan tomorrow. I'm a bit tired from running around these days and don't want to fuss about, Li Hong said lazily while lying on the bed, scrolling through her phone. All right then, I'll follow your lead. You rest well tonight, and tomorrow you can sleep until you wake up naturally, then we'll set off. Zheng Fan decided. Wang Lily and the others had just come down from the Five-Color Sea, and it would likely be dark by the time they returned. Li Hong suddenly said they wouldn't be able to visit Pearl Sea today. Do they still have the energy to message you? Zheng Fan laughed. Haha, they were so envious when they saw my photo with the deer. Li Hong said proudly. In a few days, we'll go to Zishuangbana. And you can take a photo with an elephant. Zheng Fan tempted. That's different. Zoos raise animals, but the deer here are wild. Li Hong dismissed. Zheng Fan was speechless. The journey from their location in Shangri-La Town to Daqing County, in Yunnan's Diqing Prefecture, was over 300 kilometers of mountainous roads, mostly winding with many rocky sections and several tunnels. Fortunately, most of the routes were well maintained. They set off around 8 a.m. and arrived smoothly after more than 5 hours. They checked into a hotel that was said to offer views of the sunlit Golden Mountain right from the bed and chose a scenic suite. Their good luck seems to have come to an end. Shortly after entering the hotel, a torrential downpour began outside. If they had set off a little later, it would have been uncertain whether the roads would be passable. Now that they have arrived, there's no need to go anywhere. It's best to stay put. Fortunately, there is no shortage of food and drink here, and everything can be resolved within the hotel. Chapter 137. The Eager Teacher. The average altitude of the Tibetan Plateau is over 4,000 meters, making it the highest plateau in the world. Often referred to as the roof of the world and the third pole of the earth, beyond the North and South poles. This region is home to many world-famous peaks, with mountains rising over 5,000 or 6,000 meters being numerous and countless. Most mountaintops are covered in snow year-round, making them difficult for humans to climb. Consequently, they have been imbued with a heavy sense of mystery by the local Tibetan people. The Tibetans believe that each snow-capped mountain is a dwelling place for deities. They worship and admire these mountains, guarding them through generations, firmly believing that the mountains also protect them. Especially after the widespread propagation of Tibetan Buddhism, the oppressed and impoverished Tibetan serfs have come to deeply believe in the concept of reincarnation, in hopes of escaping endless suffering in the next life. They fervently pray and pilgrimage to the sacred mountains they revere. They believe that circling the sacred mountain can cleanse one's sins from a lifetime and can help them avoid falling into the hell of endless suffering in the cycle of reincarnation, or even achieve Buddhahood in the next life. Dying while circumambulating the mountain is considered a form of fortune, which is why the pilgrimage continues year after year. These devotees often travel with their entire families, prostrating themselves at each step, measuring the ground at the foot of the sacred mountain with their bodies, praying with utmost sincerity. Having too many sacred mountains can be troublesome. Like the deities in mythology, to make it easier to remember and worship, people have categorized the mountains into ranks, leading to the concepts of the 8 Great Sacred Mountains and the 4 Great Sacred Mountains. Whether it's the 8 Great or the 4 Great, Meili Snow Mountain is one of them. Meili Snow Mountain is a relatively modern name. The Tibetans refer to it as Kawajibo, which is the highest peak visible from our window. The 3 sacred mountains we just visited in Daoqing Yading are not included in the 8 Great or 4 Great Sacred Mountains. Feeling bored in the hotel, Zheng Fan decided to enlighten Li Hong a bit, sharing some basic knowledge so that after several days of travel, she would know which mountain was which, instead of just taking photos and posting them on social media. So, what rank does Meili Snow Mountain hold? Li Hong asked curiously. Kawajibo is the treasure site of Guru Padmasambhava, recognized by Tibetans as the foremost sacred mountain. It is said to be recorded in their scriptures. These sacred mountains don't have specific rankings. In the past, due to inconvenient transportation and lack of information, local Tibetans would worship the closest sacred mountain. The concepts of the 4 and 8 Great Sacred Mountains are likely added by outsiders like us. If ranked by recognition in the outside world, Meili Snow Mountain should be considered second, Zheng Fan explained. Then where's the first one? Shall we go? Li Hong pressed. The first is certainly in Tibet, Mount Kailash. But we can't go there now. It's too far away. Besides, we are here to travel, not to worship. The idea that seeing the Golden Mountains brings a year of good luck is just a nice sentiment. It's best not to take it too seriously. Zheng Fan expressed his opinion. It's been raining nonstop, and we can't see the Golden Mountains. This place really isn't worth it. Li Hong complained. Traveling is about participation. We came, we saw, we experienced. That's the goal. As for what scenery we can see or how we feel about it, that's completely subjective. Zheng Fan reassured her. What do you feel when you look at the heavy rain outside? After the storm, there will be a rainbow. Maybe tomorrow it will clear up, and we can see the beautiful Golden Mountains. Zheng Fan said. That sounds nice. If we're going to think, of course, we want to think positively. The more people think that way, the more likely it is to come true. Aren't you always claiming to be a materialist? This sounds idealistic. Materialism and idealism aren't fixed concepts. Besides, I'm just expressing a thought. True idealism should be like those most devout followers who adhere to their beliefs for life, making pilgrimages and enduring hardships, not just praying at every temple for this and that, appearing devout while turning around to pursue profit. All right, you always have a point. I can't argue with you. Li Hong interrupted his attempt at another lengthy discourse and turned to watch TV. On the wall of the room hung a 65-inch LCD television. After turning it on, Zheng Fan realized he had forgotten the last time he watched TV. Li Hong, holding the remote, boredly changed channels. It was already past 8 in the evening, the so-called prime time for television, and most channels were airing dramas. A familiar figure appeared, dressed in a recognizable suit of armor and wearing a distinctive helmet. Zheng Fan immediately recognized it as a video of Li Jing extracted from a game. I didn't expect Huang Zhu and the others to get this show aired on satellite. I wonder what the ratings are like. How much did it sell for? Is this background and characters from the game? Li Hong asked uncertainly, as she had played the game for a long time and was familiar with the Tang Dynasty costumes and props. The TV series The Great Tang Military God has a bit of my contribution too. It's the first work of Brainwave Media. Zheng Fan replied. Is all the footage from the game? Li Hong inquired. Not all of it. There are original storylines as well. The game simulates history so closely that it can be a bit dull. Huang Zhu and the others' writers added plenty of dramatic twists, otherwise, it wouldn't attract viewers. Zheng Fan explained. Are the characters in the show all played by NPCs? Yes. That's the advantage of Brainwave Media. No need for actors, no need to hire stars. Whatever character traits and appearances are set, that's what we get. The excitement depends entirely on the imagination of the writers and directors. Zheng Fan said proudly. If this show becomes a hit, how many people will lose their jobs? Li Hong pondered. The wheels of history cannot be stopped. Those who truly love acting will still find opportunities to shine. For those who act just to make a living, losing their jobs might not be such a bad thing. They can pursue what they really love to do. The television show depicts the moment when Li Jing discovers signs of rebellion from Li Yuan, escapes from Jinyang back to Chang'an to report it. And then the Tang army captures Chang'an and arrests Li Jing, taking him to the execution ground to be beheaded. The screenwriter has added quite a bit of drama for Li Jing's wife, the famous Hong Fu Nu, who finds a way to get in touch with Li Shimin and asks him to intercede, ultimately rescuing Li Jing. The costumes, props, and character portrayals in this drama are of a high production level. Ordinary viewers would certainly not find faults. The game company has employed many professionals in history and archaeology, yet they have not identified significant issues, only a bunch of minor problems, and after careful verification, they found that many of their concerns were incorrect. After watching 2 episodes, they felt it was quite exciting. If the show doesn't become popular, it should be due to the plot, the screenwriting, and editing, rather than the costume design and acting, which they found quite good. After finishing 2 episodes, it was already past 10 at night, just in time to wash up and go to bed. Chapter 138. The Golden Mountain in the Sundacheon County is located in a valley at the junction of Sichuan, Tibet, and Yunnan, with buildings growing in a long strip along the valley. There are only 2 or 3 main streets, and most of the houses are 2 to 3 stories high. Zhang Fan ran through several streets in this small county town, and there were very few buildings over 5 stories. He didn't see a single traffic light. The roads here are almost never flat. Each one has a slight incline, either going uphill or downhill. The air was particularly fresh on the morning after the rain, and Zhang Fan felt that his wish from the day before might come true. After the rain, with the sun shining, the snow-capped mountains should be even more beautiful and breathtaking. He went out around 5 o'clock, and the empty county town seemed not to have woken up yet. He ran a lap along a few streets in the town and saw very few people. When he returned to the hotel, the restaurant was still not open. After being out for just over 20 minutes, he estimated that Li Hong wouldn't wake up until 7. So he went out again to run towards Feilai Temple outside the town to explore a bit. Feilai Temple is located on the hillside southwest of Daqing County town, and it seemed not far from their hotel. The winding road to get there had no idea how many turns it took, and even running at his speed, Zhang Fan took more than 10 minutes to arrive. It wasn't time for visiting yet, so he couldn't enter the temple. However, from the viewing platform across from the temple, he saw the 8 white pagodas arranged in a line, which are frequently featured in short videos, making the trip worthwhile. This place is one of the best viewing spots for Meili Snow Mountain. The wide viewing platform was empty, and Zhang Fan remembered that it had been a long time since he practiced Tai Chi, which would be perfect for some exercise here. The 24 forms he self-studied were a simplified version for beginners, eliminating many advanced movements and techniques. This version is similar in effect to fitness routines, most suitable for elderly people to learn in parks, with little practical combat value. Yuan Yongsheng had clearly received authentic teachings, imparting to him several more advanced practices of Tai Chi, with more complete movements and techniques. The main techniques of these sets are fundamentally the same, but the methods and purposes differ. Some focus on body posture training, while others emphasize leg techniques and footwork. There are also those that concentrate on internal power training. And the last few sets are the true practical applications, with techniques that are quite similar to the earlier ones. For ordinary people, aside from talent, the most important factor in martial arts practice is perseverance. As the saying goes, practice in the cold of winter and the heat of summer. These sets can be likened to the stages of education in Tai Chi, progressing from elementary to graduate levels. Each set requires years of dedicated practice to master before one can learn practical applications. Practicing Tai Chi for 10 years without stepping outside, without years of hard work, can only be considered superficial. However, Zhang Fan is an exception. His body and mind are different from the average person, and his perception of time differs as well. While it may not be apparent from his appearance, those who are close to him can truly appreciate this. Each set has different training methods and speed requirements. Some become more challenging the slower they are performed, while others deepen in skill the faster they are practiced. Zhang Fan practiced the main sets he learned for over an hour. Several tourists had gathered around to watch him from a distance, and as he finished his routine, someone approached to speak with him. A man with neatly combed hair, dressed in a black Zhongshan suit, smiled and asked, "You're practicing Tai Chi, right? It's quite different from what I've seen before." His demeanor suggested he was a leader. He was followed by 2 younger men, one wearing glasses and carrying a bag, presumably a secretary, and the other, a strong-looking man with sharp eyes, likely a driver and bodyguard. "I'm just a beginner, so please don't laugh," Zhang Fan said self-deprecatingly as he bent down to pick up his coat that had been thrown on the ground. "You're too modest. Although I haven't practiced myself, I consider my judgment good enough. Your skills are definitely practical and quite powerful," he replied with a laugh. "I practiced combat sports before, so I do have some fighting ability." Zhang Fan felt a sense of pride in that compliment, as the man's attitude was quite pleasant. The two stood at the edge of the viewing platform, looking at the distant, mist-covered Kawajibo Peak, which was intermittently visible. The sun had not yet risen, but the sky was already brightening. "From your accent, you must be from the north. Are you here for tourism?" Zhang Fan asked with a smile. "Just to catch a glimpse of the Golden Mountain at sunrise. You must not be alone, right?" "Haha, I'm here on a honeymoon trip with my wife." The middle-aged man turned to face Zhang Fan, formally extending his right hand. "My name is Zhang Fan. Fan as an ordinary," Zhang Fan said as they shook hands. "Oh, your name sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard it somewhere," the man said, puzzled. The young man who appeared to be the secretary leaned in and whispered something in his ear. Zhang Fan, having sharp hearing, caught the words. "He is the inventor of autonomous driving. It must be him." The man raised his eyebrows, and his expression changed naturally as he realized. "I've long admired you. It's truly an honor. Artificial intelligence is a world-changing invention. Remarkable, truly remarkable. Just lucky you flatter me," Zhang Fan said with a suppressed smile. "The sun is out," shouted another strong young man. A bright ray of sunlight shone on the peak of the snow-capped mountain across from them, and the clouds that had been swirling around the summit suddenly vanished. The complete form of Kawajibo finally revealed itself. The mountaintop, illuminated by the sunlight, appeared golden, creating a magnificent spectacle that was breathtaking. Quickly call Li Hong and let her get up to watch. I'm awake and watching. Where did you run off to? Li Hong asked drowsily on the phone. Feilai Temple. You should drive over too. The photo opportunities here are great, and you can visit the temple as well. Zheng Fan said. All right, I'll wait for you. After hanging up, Tian Zhongxing came over to bid him farewell. Our wish has been fulfilled. We're leaving now. Here's my business card. You and your spouse are welcome to visit us when you have time. After saying that, he turned and left the viewing platform with two companions, waved at him, and got into a black car parked by the roadside. The white business card was printed with People's Government of XX City, Yunnan Province, Tian Zhongxing, Mayor, along with the address, postal code, phone number, fax number, mobile number, and email. Unfortunately, this city was not on their travel itinerary, so it seemed that Mayor Tian was just being polite, and they might not have time for a visit. At around 40 years old, he was already the second in command of a prefecture-level city, which was quite an achievement, as long as he didn't make mistakes. His future looked promising. Li Hong drove up after more than half an hour. The area illuminated by sunlight was expanding, and several nearby peaks sparkled as if coated in gold. No wonder it was called Sunshine on Golden Mountain. At this time, many tourists had gathered on the viewing platform, busy exclaiming, taking photos, and filming. How about that? My beautiful wish has come true, right? Zheng Fan proudly showed off to Li Hong, who had just arrived. Hello. You're amazing, right? Quickly take a picture of me. Li Hong responded perfunctorily, hurriedly finding a good angle to get to work. Chapter 139 Shangri-La Dukzong Ancient Town is the best preserved and largest Tibetan residential area in the country and an important tourist attraction in Shangri-La City. Historical records indicate it was first established during the reign of Emperor Gaozong of the Tang dynasty. At that time, the area was under the jurisdiction of Tubo and was a significant hub on the ancient Tea-Horse Road, serving as the first stop for caravans entering Tibet. Dukzong in Tibetan means Whitestone City, symbolizing the Moonlight City. After enjoying the magnificent view of the Golden Mountain, Zheng Fan and Li Hong visited the nearby Feilai Temple, then packed their bags into Chin and continued their journey. After several hours of travel, they arrived in Shangri-La City, Yunnan. As a county-level city under the Diqing Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture, Shangri-La offers much better accommodation than Daqing. The terrain here is relatively flat, the area is larger, and there are more places to explore, gaining worldwide fame due to a foreigner's novel published 90 years ago. When they arrived, it was close to noon. After dropping off their luggage, they quickly went out to find something to eat. They were staying right next to Dukzong Ancient Town, so they could stroll into the ancient town right after leaving the hotel. They enjoyed a meal of Tibetan specialty dishes at a popular Tibetan restaurant, and then strolled through the ancient city streets. There were many shops selling Tibetan-style handicrafts, as well as numerous places renting out traditional Tibetan clothing. No wonder there were so many tourists in Tibetan robes taking photos. The tourism business here is thriving, and Li Hong was eager to join in. Let us rent a couple of outfits too. It will make our photos more memorable, encouraged Zheng Fan. But who knows how many people have worn those clothes? I'm not sure if they are clean. Li Hong hesitated. They are in the business, so they must consider cleanliness. With so many shops competing, we can simply compare them. Zheng Fan replied. That's true. Besides, if there are other clothes inside, it shouldn't be a big issue since they won't be worn directly on the skin. We can just take a shower when we get back to the hotel. After careful comparison and selection, they chose the shop that seemed to have the best materials and craftsmanship, though the prices were quite surprising. There was even a makeup artist to help Li Hong with her braids and makeup. Li Hong selected a traditional outfit in red and white with wide lace trim, completed with colorful braids and a headpiece adorned with numerous gemstones, looking like a model. Zheng Fan's outfit was less extravagant, but still had necessary decorations, such as a big gemstone chain, a belt pendant, and a few red markings on his face to match Li Hong's outfit for their photos. He also received a small prayer wheel as a prop. Once they changed into their outfits and finished their makeup, they headed out, this time with a clear goal of finding great locations for beautiful photos. They explored all the streets of the ancient city in the afternoon and visited several museums. In the evening, they went to the giant Buddha temple at Guishan Park, which features what was once the world's largest prayer wheel, standing an impressive 21 meters tall and weighing over 60 tons. Under the night lights, it was truly breathtaking. The prayer wheel, named the auspicious Victory Pillar, is made of pure copper and gilded. Its upper relief features 4 great bodhisattvas, Manjushri, Samantabhadra, Avalokiteshvara, and Kitagarbha, while the lower part displays the 8 treasures of Buddhism, conch, Dharma wheel, parasol, banner, lotus, treasure vase, golden fish, and endless knot, along with the patterns representing the unity of 56 ethnic groups. Inside, it contains scriptures with 24 million mantras and various Buddhist treasures weighing 16 tons. The top of the wheel has a circular umbrella cover larger than the wheel itself, with a huge ball bearing inside. The base is surrounded by a thick stainless steel ring with fabric straps for people to push or pull. It is said that turning the wheel once is equivalent to chanting the Buddha's name 24 million times, and after 3 full turns, one can eliminate disasters and pray for blessings. Zhang Fan tried pushing it himself and found it was not too strenuous, especially once it started turning. It was much easier than the story suggesting it took 7 or 8 people to move it. Naturally, they took some beautiful photos at such an important site. Descending from the mountain, the ancient city of Duxong was still bustling at night, with various ancient buildings appearing even more beautiful under the lights than during the day. The Moonlight Square was particularly lively, with large groups of locals performing the unique Tibetan Guizhuang dance, and many tourists joining in, creating a joyful atmosphere. This is what a Tibetan-style square dance looks like. Dancing in traditional attire enhances the experience, and fortunately, this dance doesn't require high-level skills. Just a bit of bouncing around makes one proficient. The 2 dancers were having a great time, and it was hard to tell if they were inspiring others or if the energy was contagious. Either way, the atmosphere tonight was exceptionally lively and joyful. They played until nearly 10 o'clock before returning their costumes to the rental shop. Li Hong, who was quite fond of a small prayer wheel, decided to buy it as a travel souvenir. She suggested, "Today was so enjoyable. This place is fun. Let us stay a few more days." "Sure. Stay as long as you want. We'll leave when we've had enough fun." Zhang Fan replied. "Where shall we go tomorrow? Let us rent some clothes again. They're both beautiful and warm." Perhaps that was why she didn't want to leave. Songzhenlin Temple, Napa Lake, Kidakuo Park are all good options. No rush. We can take our time. 1 place a day? Zhang Fan, feeling drowsy, responded before falling asleep. The morning in Shangri-La was not as quiet as Daqin. There were already a few people out and about, and many breakfast shops had opened, along with several tourists like Zhang Fan out for morning exercises. He first ran around the ancient city, covering about 10 kilometers, at an altitude of over 3,000 meters. He had grown accustomed to it over the past few days and felt it wasn't much different from the plains. In fact, the air here was even fresher. After circling the ancient city, Zhang Fan continued north along Chongjing Avenue outside the city, then turned onto Niwang Road, running all the way to the entrance of Songzhenlin Temple. He took a moment to overlook the entire Shangri-La city below before running back to the hotel to complete his morning workout. Li Hong was already up, just finishing washing her face and doing her skincare routine. She asked him as he returned, "Where did you run this time?" "I ran around the ancient city and then checked out Songzhenlin Temple to the north." "Is it far? Should we drive there?" "It's about 4 or 5 kilometers. And we can park there." After breakfast, they planned to rent the clothes Li Hong had picked out the day before. For breakfast, they had Tibetan-style buns, fried milk curd, and butter tea. At first, it was a bit unfamiliar, but after a few tries, they gradually began to enjoy the taste, though it might be hard to find it back home later. The legend of Gonden's Songzhenlin Temple states that the site was determined by the Dalai Lama's divination. Located 5 kilometers north of Shangri-La on Foping Mountain, it was approved for construction by Emperor Kangxi and later named Hohhot Temple by Emperor Yongzheng. It is the largest Tibetan Buddhist monastery in the Sichuan Yunnan region and serves as a center for the Yellow sect, holding significant status throughout the Tibetan area, often referred to as the Little Potala Palace. Currently, there are over 700 monks in the monastery. The temple has a strict and organized structure, with monks divided into 2 categories, living Buddhas and Zaba. Other monks are classified by educational background and experience into various titles such as Gusha, Zhenong, and Bonjua. Based on their responsibilities, there are numerous positions including Kam, Elder Monks, Xiangjue, Diba, Ingza, and Gongon. The Laxi Conference consists of living Buddhas, Kinpos, and high-ranking monks from the entire monastery, overseeing the temple's regulations, doctrines, and major constructions. The subordinate monk organization, known as Kongsang, which means monastic community in Tibetan, categorizes monks into several groups based on their place of origin, forming regional organizations within the larger monastery. The grassroots monk organization is referred to as Mikan, which means a household or a family. Generally, monks from a specific area form a residential unit, living together, typically consisting of about 10 to 20 individuals. The entrance ticket for the visit includes a guided tour fee, and a group of about a dozen tourists follows the guide to explore the site, listening to explanations about the temple's history, the characteristics of the architecture, and so on, while occasionally turning the prayer wheels found along the path and on the steps. Zhang Fan naturally helps Li Hong take photos to capture the most beautiful moments. Photography is usually prohibited in the main halls of these temples, but thankfully, most outdoor areas allow it, providing ample opportunities for taking pictures during free time. The series of photos from yesterday made Li Hong quite popular on social media, receiving countless likes, and Su Lu was envious, insisting that Li Hong must buy her a few sets of traditional clothing to send back, as she wanted to wear them for a live stream. They were already sending various items to Sulu for her to keep, so this was no big deal. Chapter 140. Starry Night Market. Although Songsanlin Temple is large, a visit takes just over 3 hours, less than half a day. Therefore, the two drove to Napa Lake for a scenic tour. The pure blue sky, clear lake, green pastures, and herds of cattle and sheep felt even more beautiful than the scenery in videos. The views here are completely free, with no entrance fee, and the area is spacious, covering over 2,000 hectares. Many protected bird species, such as black-necked cranes, black storks, and gray cranes, as well as herds of cattle, sheep, and horses roam freely. Napa Lake Provincial Nature Reserve is a wetland ecological protection area. It is not a true lake. In summer, water accumulates to form lakes, while in autumn and winter, the water recedes, transforming into a vast wetland, becoming a favored wintering spot for various migratory birds. They visited during the most beautiful season of the year, enjoying perfect weather. And the stunning scenery made it hard to leave. While the scenic spots are free, capturing beautiful photos requires payment for activities such as horseback riding, taking pictures in beautiful traditional clothing, and posing with adorable lambs. There are also rentals for traditional clothing and professional photographers available for assistance. By the lakeside, they spotted several couples traveling in RVs. The RVs were equipped with awnings, portable tables and chairs, and expandable kitchenware for cooking, allowing for rest and sleep inside. Zhang Fan and Li Hong were quite envious, promising to get an RV for future travels when the opportunity arose. They played until sunset, taking a series of stunning photos against the backdrop of the setting sun before packing up to return to the city. In the following days, they explored Pudakyo National Park, Balajazong, Haba Snow Mountain, Baishutai, Tiger Leaping Gorge, and many other attractions. This time, they were not in a rush like the previous days, hopping from one site to another, but instead strolled leisurely, still taking photos, but without the hurried pace. In the evenings, they continued to explore the ancient town and dance in the square. On the third morning, after visiting Tiger Leaping Gorge, they drove directly back to Dali from Lijiang, returning to the lakeside courtyard they had rented for just 2 days. More than half a month had passed since they arrived in Yunnan, and in 3 days, their honeymoon vacation would come to an end. After dinner, they relaxed on the terrace by the water. Li Hong sighed. Time flies. A month has gone by without much fun. Are we still going to Zishuangbana? We could spend a day traveling back and forth, and still have time to explore. We can even take a flight back from there. Zhang Fan asked. Don't just ask me. Do you want to go? I do. We've been to so many places already, so why not check that out? We've explored Yunnan pretty well. Li Hong decided. Zhang Fan took out his phone to check the information. There's a direct flight tomorrow afternoon, much faster than the high-speed train or driving. That night, Zhang Fan had another dream, similar to one he had a week ago. He and Li Hong were driving a convertible around Arai Lake when, inexplicably, they found themselves on a narrow, straight cement road leading into the mountains, flanked by vast fields of golden rapeseed flowers. Unlike the last dream, this road soon reached an end, entering a large private estate with a luxurious villa styled in tropical fashion. A dozen dark-skinned male and female servants stood in 2 rows at the entrance, welcoming them back, and a cute little girl, about 4 or 5 years old, ran out, jumping into their arms and calling them mom and dad. Zishuangbana Dai Autonomous Prefecture is one of the 8 autonomous prefectures in Yunnan Province, with Jinghong as its capital. It is located on the northern edge of the tropical zone, south of the Tropic of Cancer, and has a tropical monsoon climate. This area is known for having the most complete tropical ecosystem in the country, often referred to as a kingdom of plants, animals, and a gene pool. It hosts the only tropical rainforest nature reserve in the country and is a national ecological demonstration area and a national scenic area, with plant species accounting for 1/6 and animal species for 1/4 of the country's total. Just 2 days earlier, they were in Shangri-La, where thick clothes were necessary. And now they were in Zishuangbana, where even summer clothes felt warm. What is more magical is that both places belong to the same province. After settling into the hotel, they eagerly went to explore the so-called largest starlight night market in Asia. They first purchased a few local specialty outfits. The fabrics were light, and the prices were much cheaper than traditional garments. Plus, they wouldn't feel out of place when worn back home. Li Hong had already taken a liking to dressing up for photos, so they changed clothes and applied makeup before continuing to enjoy the night market. Diving into a food adventure, with a variety of delicious foods like coconut iced tea, egg pancakes, Thai-style barbecue, Lao-style chicken feet, Thai pad Thai, Vietnamese rice rolls, and Laotian iced coffee. Li Hong quickly filled up. Tempted by the flavors, she couldn't resist trying more and shared some with Zhang Fan to avoid waste. Mixing hot and cold dishes, even his strong stomach was challenged, and he had to pull this woman away to escape. The night market featured not only stalls selling various clothing and makeup, but also food stalls, unique crafts, small goods, and ethnic accessories. There was even a street lined with bars where they could relax with a drink after a long stroll. On the way back to the hotel, Li Hong pulled on Zhang Fan's arm and said, "No matter where we go tomorrow, we must come back to explore this night market tonight. There are still so many delicious things we haven't tried." "No problem. I specifically chose a hotel nearby for convenience," Zhang Fan replied. The next day, the two visited the botanical garden of the Academy of Sciences. It was vast, covering over 100 hectares, and most areas could only be explored on foot. They only managed to roughly visit a few gardens in the western area, including the flower garden, exotic flower garden, banyan garden, palm garden, famous trees garden, national flower and tree garden, climbing plant garden, aquatic plant garden, and shade plant garden, among others. They saw the enormous Victoria water lily, the spiky kapok tree, the unique jade vine, various rare trees and plants, and many poisonous flowers and plants they had only heard about, gaining a lot of knowledge. Unfortunately, they had to leave the next day, and many places remained unexplored. Of course, they continued to enjoy the starry night market that evening. Such a fun place could not be fully experienced in just one visit. Tomorrow they would be heading back, and this was their last night of their honeymoon trip. They wandered until after midnight before returning to the hotel to rest. On the final day, they visited the Man Ting Park, which has a history of over 300 years. It was said to have once been the royal garden of the Dai King. The park featured both natural landscapes and artificially cultivated exotic flowers, along with distinctive Dai-style garden architecture. Visitors could enjoy the ancient natural scenery and appreciate the rich cultural landscapes. The park was also home to various animals and birds, including wild bears, wild boars, pythons, and peacocks, and of course, there were elephant performances. Zhang Fan kept his promise and let Li Hong sit on an elephant's back to take some photos. In the afternoon, they packed their bags, reluctantly bidding farewell to the colorful clouds of Yunnan. They took a flight to Kunming Changshui Airport and then transferred to return to Yanjing after being away for a month. The next day, upon returning to the capital, they both went to their new office address together. The new office was located in a small alley south of the intersection of Jichuan Road and Zhongwankan Street, named Hushuan Building. It was an old building over 20 years old that had been modernized by the new owner last year at a high cost. Unfortunately, due to its remote location and high rental prices, occupancy was not ideal, and facing issues with the funding chain, it had to be sold at a loss. Ultimately purchased by Gao Hua under the name of Brainwave Investment. All departments from their previous office, including Brainwave Holdings, Brainwave Investment, Brainwave Technology, and Brainwave Medical, moved here, expanding their office space fivefold. Since they were all from the same company, the rent would still be charged at market rates, which helped keep the profits within the organization. Hushuan Building was much farther from their residential area than before, making walking inconvenient, so they rode together, with Li Hong still driving. Fortunately, the building had its own parking lot, and each executive had a designated parking space, alleviating worries about parking and saving them a lot of trouble. "Welcome back from your honeymoon, Zhang Fan and Li Hong." Upon entering the building's ground floor, there was a loud bang as colorful streamers flew around, with Administrative Director Zhou Mingchun and several employees cheering. The Chief Administrative Officer, Zhou Mingchun, was brought in by Su Huiyun as her assistant after the company restructured. A top graduate from Yin University, she worked for over a decade in a certain Fortune 500 multinational company after graduation. She possesses strong work capabilities, is well-versed in modern enterprise management, and excels in handling interpersonal relationships. Zhang Fan had limited interactions with her, while Li Hong was quite familiar with her. Zhou Mingchun also attended their wedding, although Zhang Fan did not think it necessary to send her an invitation, including to the newly appointed Chief Financial Officer, Chief Human Resources Officer, and others. He felt that they had hardly exchanged a few words, so it wouldn't be appropriate to impose any expenses on them. It was Li Hong who added her name along with a few directors, considering that many long-standing employees were invited. It wouldn't be suitable to exclude these executives who joined later. Li Hong's office had already been relocated, and after a brief welcome ceremony, she went on to do her own work. Zhou Mingchun took Zhang Fan on a tour of the various floors of the company, introducing him along the way, and then led him to the office of the technical director. The size and layout were similar to what Wu Zhen had arranged for him in the Brainwave Gaming project. "If you find anything unsuitable, let me know, and I will arrange for adjustments," Zhou Mingchun asked. "Everything is great. I'm very satisfied. Thank you for your efforts, Sister Zhou." Several board members requested to assign a dedicated secretary to him, and Zhou Mingchun inquired if he had any suitable candidates. "If not, I've selected 3 candidates, and I'll have them come over for you to interview shortly." "That's unnecessary, right? I managed fine without one before," Zhang Fan replied. "You know that was in the past. The company is expanding every day, and you wouldn't want everyone coming directly to you for everything, would you?" Zhou Mingchun smiled. "All right then." Zhang Fan chose one from the 3 resumes she provided, skipping the interview altogether. He and Li Hong had arrived relatively early, and he was surprised that Zhou Mingchun had arrived even earlier and organized a welcome ceremony. No wonder she excelled in interpersonal relations. It was hard to refuse her. and one had to be grateful. He opened the computer on his desk and began to browse through the recent company emails. During his travels, Zhang Fan had not been indifferent. He would check in his spare time, so the backlog was only from the last few days. The existence of superintelligence made his nominal role as technical director quite easy. There were not many program versions needing iteration or major bugs requiring fixes. The frameworks and interfaces he initially designed for autonomous driving and artificial intelligence development were still functioning well. After the restructuring, several new companies had gradually gotten used to solving problems on their own, making him feel a bit embarrassed about the salary he received. Lu Yifan and his team had not made significant progress in brain input research, though it was a substantial breakthrough compared to before. However, many challenges remained before it could be practical. Now, they could receive simple messages edited with Su Xion's brainwaves through helmets, one sentence, a paragraph, or longer articles. Though the accuracy would decrease, not everyone could receive and understand the information. Extensive internal testing showed that those who underwent brainwave training in the gaming pods had a higher probability of direct comprehension. Those who passed the intermediate tests could basically receive the information, while only a very few without training could do so. It is similar to the sending and receiving of telegrams, which requires a certain level of professional training. This is just a simple one-dimensional message. The content conveyed by brain waves can be quite rich, including flat images, three-dimensional shapes, more complex dynamic content, abstract theorems, mathematical formulas, music, and sensory information of various temperatures and flavors. Many of these more complex brainwave signals cannot be deciphered by existing software, let alone be reverse inputted. Although research has not made progress, their experimental conditions have significantly improved. In addition to the increase in helmets and gaming pods used for experiments, there are now multiple measurement devices typically found in large hospitals, specially modified medical CT machines, MRI devices, brainwave monitors, and more equipment that even Zhang Fan does not recognize. Just the professional laboratories and examination rooms occupy 2 floors, and more than a dozen new researchers have joined, along with their assistants, most of whom hold master's degrees. After touring the several laboratories on the 2 floors with Lu Yifan, Zhang Fan felt an immense pressure. Back in Lu Yifan's office, sitting on the guest sofa, he asked, "Do you feel that the company's changes are quite significant?" "I feel more like a slacker." Zhang Fan replied honestly. Your mindset hasn't completely shifted yet. Everyone here, including myself, can conduct research better than we did if you want to. But we can't do your work. Don't always dwell on so-called academic qualifications. They only represent the past. It may take more time, but you'll get used to it. Lu Yifan understood his mindset very well. Let's not talk about that. I just looked at the recent research progress and plans, and I feel it's a bit off track. Zhang Fan also didn't want to be underestimated. Oh, what are your thoughts? Text itself is an abstract form of information, which people learn to master later in life. The differences in brainwaves are greater than the differences in individual handwriting. It is unrealistic to conduct brainwave literacy training for everyone. We should prioritize research on physical sensations like temperature, taste, smell, and the 5 basic flavors. Everyone experiences these sensations, and the differences are not that significant. Once we achieve results, it can greatly enhance the gaming experience. Zhang Fan spoke while thinking. Lu Yifan immediately became interested. The taste center is located in the transverse gyrus of the temporal lobe, while the smell center is in the temporal lobe's region, receiving bilateral olfactory fibers at the uncus and the anterior part of the hippocampus. The touch center is mainly located in the post-central gyrus of the cerebral cortex. In theory, we can collect the brain waves from these areas, but we haven't made significant breakthroughs in analysis yet. Do you have any good suggestions? Chapter 142. Secretary. Everyone's brain is different, and a very small number of people may be particularly outstanding in certain aspects. Some have an exceptionally keen sense of smell, while others have prominent taste sensitivity, developed motor skills, or advanced abstract thinking. Zhang Fan speculated that individuals with such special abilities likely have stronger brain waves in those areas, making them easier to interpret. We should seek out such individuals for brainwave research. After listening to his account, Lu Yifan said with a bitter smile, "Research in this area has been conducted for a long time, and this has helped identify the approximate locations of these neural centers. There have also been more detailed studies, most of which focus on specific types. The significant advancements in human studies are mostly invasive electrodes, or chips, which is not our area of expertise. We don't need to precisely distinguish these brainwave signals, unlike motor nerve signals that require clear analysis for game operations. We just need to find individuals with specific talents in this area, such as those with a keen sense of taste, by obtaining their brainwaves while they experience different flavors. If these can be amplified to be felt by another person, then we have succeeded. In the future, we can integrate this function into the game pod, and a Chung can gradually adjust it based on each person's experience." Zhang Fan suggested. "All right. I'll consult within the company to see if there are colleagues willing to volunteer for some preliminary experiments." The cost isn't high. Lu Yifan felt it was a bit unreliable. But trying it out wouldn't hurt, especially since the company isn't short on funds. Is Su Xin still helping with the experiments? Yes, she is now our special research fellow. However, her role has diminished. Lu Yifan replied. Her main value lies in brainwave collection. Once that's done, there isn't much for her to do. She gets an extra paycheck for doing nothing, so why not? I feel her role isn't limited to that. Whenever she's present, I have a higher chance of sensing others' brainwaves. It seems her brain has a signal amplification function. It's best to include her in brainwave experiments. Perhaps it will yield different effects. Haha, that amplification effect is probably only for you. Lu Yifan laughed. That's just my way of describing it. It could also be due to other effects. To determine the specifics, deeper research is needed. Why haven't I seen Zhang Song? He's even more diligent than you and is always here when you're not. Zhang Fan asked. Lu Yifan hadn't noticed before, but it had been a while since he last saw Zhang Song, who probably hadn't come to work. As for Su Kan, he had a lot of work, so it was normal for him not to be around. Don't you know? An email was sent out. He and Su Kan went abroad to give some presentations and receive a few awards. Lu Yifan said in surprise, thinking Zhang Fan was aware of it. I must have missed that. There are too many emails every day. Is their trip okay? It should be fine. It's not yet time for any major conflicts. Their importance is far less than yours. Besides, everything they know has already been published in papers. This trip is just for face-to-face exchanges with peers. There's nothing for us to hide in this regard. Lu Yifan explained with a smile. Is it all right for me to go abroad now? Not yet. It's not the right time. Their trip is also a kind of test. Many things arise from unexpected events, and no one can guarantee that everything will be fine. However, regarding our company and our actions, I already know of several incidents. There are definitely some that we are unaware of that have been quietly resolved. Lu Yifan said seriously. When did this happen? How come I didn't know? Zhang Fan was hearing this for the first time. Hehe, you didn't know about the reporter incident? Lu Yifan asked with a smile. Isn't she just here for an interview? Zhang Fan asked, puzzled. You're thinking too simply. As a senior reporter, she can't publish anything without her superior's approval. Lu Yifan replied. Why go through all that trouble to interview you then? Maybe I'm just too naive. Sometimes, not knowing too much can be a blessing. You don't need to get distracted by these matters. Just focus on what interests you. Others will handle the rest. Zhang Fan felt a bit uneasy, shifting in her seat. It sounds like you're making me out to be some important figure. Don't underestimate yourself. You are an important figure now. Everything you've accomplished in the past 6 months, artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, the Mingtu software, Aching, brain finance, and so on. Each of these has a profound impact and could change the world. If you were in another country, many would revere you like a deity. Lu Yifan said earnestly. Haha, you're exaggerating. Zhang Fan chuckled, finding it amusing. I heard from Li Hong that you want to learn skydiving? Lu Yifan changed the topic. Knowing some matters are best left unspoken. Yes, I wanted to learn after the May Day holiday, but various things kept postponing it. Zhang Fan lamented. Maybe this time I can find the time to learn. You don't need to sign up yourself. Someone will come to you soon. Lu Yifan teased. Who? Zhang Fan asked. Someone you know. You'll find out soon enough. Lu Yifan kept the suspense. After leaving Lu Yifan's office and returning to her own, Zhang Fan found that her secretary had already started working. The student, fresh out of a finance university, had begun interning at the company at the end of last year. She had been there longer than many executives, and while Zhang Fan recognized her, their interaction was limited. The secretary handled finances, and Zhang Fan had never directly dealt with her. All salary payments went directly to her account, and she had never submitted any expense claims. Zhang Feng, you and Su Xian graduated from the same university. Did you know each other in school? Zhang Fan asked. No, we didn't. Su Xian is 2 years ahead of me. She's from the finance department, while I'm from accounting. We technically belong to the same university, but we're not in the same campus. It's quite far apart. Zhang Feng answered seriously. Zhang Feng, from Guangxi, was under 1.6 meters tall, petite and delicate, wearing black-rimmed glasses, with medium-length hair and bangs. She was very introverted and had little presence in the company. Zhang Fan remembered her as one of the first to pass the intermediate brainwave test. What made you decide to apply to be my secretary? Zhang Fan asked curiously. Huh, wasn't he at your decision? Zhang Feng replied, surprised. Oh, I misunderstood. Director Zhou said he picked 3 people for me to interview, and I only had a bit of an impression of you, so I chose you directly. If you're not willing, it's fine. After all, it's not really aligned with your major. I can find someone else. Zhang Fan thought they all volunteered, but it turned out to be a forced recruitment. The selection of a secretary had to go through thorough background checks, and only 3 met the criteria. Zhou Mingchun hadn't mentioned this. It was obvious to anyone that the position of accountant was less significant than that of his secretary, so Zhang Feng was naturally willing. In the future, my emails will be forwarded to your work email as well. Please prepare a daily briefing for me. I won't come by every day, but feel free to contact me for important matters. That's all. You can get back to work. After giving a few instructions, Zhang Fan let her leave. He spent the entire morning getting familiar with the situations of several companies. At noon, he had lunch with Li Hong in the company cafeteria. Li Hong jokingly said, "Sister Zhou mentioned that you chose Zheng Fong as your secretary. You have quite an eye, don't you? I only have an impression of Zheng Fong out of the 3 candidates, so I picked her. Is there anything special about her?" Zheng Fan asked curiously. He wasn't sure if bringing Li Hong into the company was the right decision. She was now more familiar with people and more in the loop than he was, which meant he would have no privacy at all from home to the office. "Nothing much. I thought you had good judgment. Turns out you were just guessing," Li Hong teased, leaving him even more curious without elaborating. In the afternoon, shortly after returning to the office, Lu Yifan called him to the number 1 laboratory. The No. 1 laboratory was their exclusive lab, one of the largest and best equipped among several labs. The lab was filled with familiar faces: Lu Yifan, Su Xian, and Su Wen, a former painter who was now the art director at a gaming company. After discussing with Zhang Fan in the morning, Lu Yifan sent out an internal email to gather volunteers for an experiment that was not dangerous and could provide some extra earnings. The company's employees signed up enthusiastically, and soon a group was assembled. Su Wen had come specifically for the experiment, as she worked at the gaming company nearby. Su Wen happens to have a heightened sense of smell. She is particularly sensitive to fragrances, which is perfect for our olfactory experiment. Lu Yifan introduced. "Thank you both for your hard work. Let's get started," Zheng Fan said. He had them put on helmets and recline in special chairs. Lu Yifan monitored their brainwave activity, while Zheng Fan held a bottle of banana-scented olfactory agent under Su Wen's nose. The computer's brainwave detection software indicated the word banana, which meant she had recognized it. He then had Su Xian sniff it, and she could identify it as well. Next came the scents of lemon, coffee, fennel, cinnamon, licorice, apple, pineapple, and a total of 16 different olfactory agents, all of which both could identify accurately. Thanks to Su Xian's presence, Zheng Fan could easily receive the brain waves of both individuals without looking at the computer and sense their recognized answers. However, he couldn't feel any further sensations, and he had no experience of the scents themselves. Next, they conducted a smell differentiation test, where they smelled several similar scents and identified the different one. There was also a scent threshold test, using the same olfactory agent diluted in various concentrations, allowing them to smell from weak to strong to test their olfactory sensitivity. Su Xian's results were at the level of a normal person, while Su Wen was exceptionally sensitive, able to accurately identify even the faintest scent from over a meter away. Their goal was not to test the sense of smell itself, but to input the brain waves associated with olfactory sensations into the brain, allowing individuals to experience the same feelings without smelling the actual scents. Although a few people spoke little and focused on the tests, there was quite a commotion in Zheng Fan's mind. On the surface, Su Xian appeared calm, but her thoughts were racing, buzzing around like a swarm of bees since she entered the lab. "This guy is looking for me to do experiments right after he returns. Does he have ulterior motives? It's a man's nature to love novelty and despise the old, and he can't escape that." Su Wen is here too. She was invited for that strange test as well. He wouldn't be thinking of her, would he? Oh no, I shouldn't think too much. He can sense it. How embarrassing. Will saying one more word kill me? It's like we're not even familiar with each other. So pretentious, so fake. Only a few knew about Zheng Fan's telepathy. Su Wen was unaware and didn't know that many of her private thoughts could be sensed by others. Although she came from an art background, she didn't judge people by their appearance. Since joining the company, she had a very good impression of Zheng Fan. Low-key, humble, with a sincere gaze. Different from most of the male colleagues. Later, after he made so many important inventions and his worth skyrocketed, his attitude towards colleagues remained unchanged. He was still the same as before, unlike most people. "Our goal for this experiment is to obtain brainwave data on how your brains respond to scents. This experiment will last for half an hour. I will open the bottles in front of you and use a fan to blow the scents towards you. Please try to minimize distractions and focus on experiencing the smells." Zheng Fan explained the upcoming tests in detail and then had them put on the helmets again, settling comfortably in their chairs. He then opened a bottle of lily scent and placed it in front of a small fan, adjusting the fan's direction to blow the scent towards the two of them. After a while, he switched to another bottle and continued changing bottles, finishing with over a dozen before concluding the experiment. The helmets completely blocked vision and hearing, and combined with the comfortable ergonomic chairs, it was easy to fall asleep. After the experiment, Su Wen quickly sat up and removed her helmet, while Su Xian remained unresponsive, breathing steadily, clearly asleep. The three of them looked at the sleeping Su Xian and laughed. "Let her sleep. The next part is a receiving test. Su Wen, you can sit over there and wait for a bit. It's Zheng Fan's turn now," Lu Yifan arranged. Zheng Fan put on the testing helmet and lay back in the comfortable chair. Lu Yifan divided Su Wen's recently recorded brainwave data into segments, shuffled them, and had Zhang Fan conduct the receiving test to see if he could sense the same scent. The experiment also lasted half an hour, but unfortunately, Zhang Fan only detected a faint scent left by Su Wan, unsure if it was from shower gel or skincare products, and he felt nothing in his brainwaves. Seeing him shake his head, Lu Yifan was not surprised and reassured him, "This is normal. Research doesn't yield results that quickly. We need to collect more data, compare more, and find the differences. As long as we are on the right track, a breakthrough will come sooner or later. Can I experience it myself?" Su Wen suggested. "Sure. Go ahead." Lu Yifan agreed. As expected, Su Wen had no reaction to her own brainwaves and almost fell asleep as well. Su Xian had been asleep for over an hour. Perhaps she had been in one position for too long and wanted to turn over, resulting in her waking up suddenly. "Ah, is the experiment over?" she asked. "It just finished. You can head back now." Zhang Fan replied with a smile. Feeling a bit embarrassed as the three of them smiled at her, Su Xian said, "This chair is too soft. I just dozed off a bit. I didn't delay anything, did I?" "No. There have been quite a few experiments lately, and we'll need you to participate, so be mentally prepared," Lu Yifan said, suppressing a laugh. After sending the two of them off, Zhang Fan and Lu Yifan continued to discuss the recent experiment. They deliberated for quite a while, but couldn't reach a conclusion, so they decided to continue the experiment and gather more relevant data for a gradual analysis. Such matters can't be resolved in one go. At the end of the workday, Li Hong asked Zhang Fan to move a large box, about a person's height, from the lobby to the trunk of the car before they drove home. "Is this the housekeeper robot that Dong Lei and the others worked on? It's finally completed. It hasn't been easy. This research has taken half a year," Zhang Fan inquired. "It's a beta version, and there are not many of them. Only 50 units were sent over, and they've all been claimed," Li Hong replied with a smile. The robot was not light. Even after using many new materials to reduce its weight, it still weighed over 50 kilograms. Fortunately, this weight was manageable for Zhang Fan, who easily carried it from the car to the elevator and then into the house. The packaging box was plain and blank, with no patterns or text. After cutting the packing straps and peeling off the sealing tape, inside was a solid block of white shock-absorbing foam. Lifting the foam, they found a robot dressed as a short-haired maid, eyes closed like a sleeping beauty, along with an instruction manual. "Quite nice. Now you men are happy," Li Hong remarked with a hint of jealousy. A gentle and lovely little chef. The robot's realism was average. It was simply less frightening than the original skeletal frame. "This one is here to work for us, so why are you jealous? You should be thankful," Zhang Fan said, pinching the robot's silicone face, looking a bit dissatisfied. "Where's the switch? Let us take her out and give it a try." On the back of the robot was a 70 centimeters long, 50 centimeters wide oval mirror charging pad that could be mounted on the wall for wireless charging. Flipping through the instruction manual, Zhang Fan said to Li Hong, who was circling the robot, "Feel the left shoulder. There's a circular bump that's the power button, and on the right shoulder, there's an oval bump for the power off." "Hello, I am the JZN000019 housekeeper robot, and my name is Yuan Yuan. I am here to follow your commands." Less than 3 seconds after pressing the power button, the robot opened its eyes, spoke in standard Mandarin, and its voice sounded nothing like a robot. Almost like a sweet girl of 17 or 18. "What can you do?" Li Hong asked curiously. "I can wash clothes, cook, clean the room, and complete other tasks you specify. I will keep learning and strive to do better to satisfy you." The robot turned to face Li Hong as it replied, placing its hands on its abdomen and performing a curtsy. From the perspective of movement, there is still a significant difference compared to humans. The actions are choppy, neither smooth nor natural. It seems that time is needed to adapt. Let us not have her do anything too complex for now. Let her learn step by step, suggested Zhang Fan. "I heard from Shi Xian that each of these robots has a unique identification number, right?" Li Hong asked curiously. "That is essential. Not only is the number unique, but the head mold, fingerprints, pupils, and initial names are all one of a kind. They will continuously learn and grow, following different owners. And their futures will not be the same. Even when mass-produced, while the parts will be interchangeable, their appearance and core will still be unique. They won't just obey orders blindly, either." Zhang Fan chuckled. "Will they rebel?" Li Hong was skeptical. "The core of these robots is set according to normal human standards. They need to be respected, and they will have a sense of right and wrong. After mass production, they will only be rented, not sold. We can't treat them entirely like humans, but we also can't treat them as slaves. Each robot will eventually be recycled," Zhang Fan explained. "With what you said, how many people would still want to buy them? The manufacturing process is too complex. Right now, we can't even produce 100 units a day. Improvements will be gradual, and production capacity won't expand anytime soon, so the price won't be low. Our products won't lack customers. That is not my concern. Go to Su Lu's place and bring back our packages that were sent home. Invite the two of them over for dinner to show our gratitude. I'll teach Yuan Yuan how to cook. Haha, it feels like having an extra little sister. Yuan Yuan, come with me." Li Hong led the robot Yuan Yuan to the kitchen. Zheng Fan cleaned up the packaging and foam waste and took it downstairs to throw away. Then went to Su Lu's home to invite people over. After a month outside, he didn't think he had bought much. But when he arrived at Su Lu's house, he saw a huge pile of packages, various shapes and sizes, stacked in a corner of the living room. Hurry up and take these things away. Look at what our place has become. Su Lu complained. I invited you all over for dinner to express my thanks. It's just right to help me carry some. There's too much. I only have 2 hands. Zheng Fan said with a gushao. Zheng Fan, you're really annoying. You saw me sleeping and didn't wake me up, just laughed at me with them. Su Exine glared at him from the sofa, not saying a word. She didn't need to speak. Her thoughts were enough. What did you do to upset my sister? She came back looking like this. Su Lu asked. Su Exine. I'm sorry, I apologize for laughing at you this afternoon. Zheng Fan said sincerely. Su Exine turned away, indicating she wouldn't accept it. Not sincere. Zheng Fan turned to Su Lu and said, you might not know yet, but we've developed the housework robot. Li Hong and I brought one back for testing and would like you to come over and take a look. Give us your feedback. I didn't know such important news. I was just sulking. I wonder what the robot looks like. Su Exine was immediately intrigued. Su Exine, I apologize again. Let us go together. Zheng Fan felt it was time to give her an opportunity to let go of her anger. This woman is really troublesome. I must be more cautious in the future. Then I'll forgive you this time. But it won't happen again. Su Exine was already anxious to see the robot. But on the surface, she pretended to reluctantly accept the apology, unsure of who she was putting on a show for. She managed to bundle a large pile of packages together with transparent tape, and without the help of the 2 women, Zheng Fan single-handedly carried everything back home. As soon as the 2 women entered the house, they rushed to the kitchen to chat with the robot, while Zheng Fan began to unpack the deliveries using a wallpaper knife. Most of the packages contained various crafts, souvenirs, local trinkets, and some clothes bought by Li Hong, as well as Zheng Fan's collection of concealed knives and swords. However, the most important items were the outdoor gear Zheng Fan had bought in Daoqing, most of which he hadn't used, and he had them all sent back together. Thinking about the items he bought that had never been used, Zheng Fan felt a bit reluctant, so he set up a tent in the living room, placed a moisture-proof mat inside, inflated it, and crawled in to lie down. It felt really comfortable. When Li Hong came out, she was met with the sight of a brown tent in the living room, surrounded by a pile of unpacked boxes and items, and she immediately exploded with anger. Zheng Fan, hurry up and take down that broken tent. Li Hong shouted. Oh, you really know how to have fun, setting up a tent at home. Su Lu laughed behind her, enjoying the spectacle. Hearing Li Hong's furious voice, Zheng Fan sensed trouble. He had gotten a bit carried away today and crawled out of the tent, feeling sheepish as he tried to pack it up. Unfortunately, while it was advertised as quick to set up, the instructions for taking it down were not clear. After 10 minutes of setup, he struggled for another 20 minutes trying to fold it back, but it ended up a messy pile. The 3 women had already started eating, while he was still there figuring out how to fold the tent. After more than 10 minutes, he finally managed to bundle the tent together, but it was nothing compared to the original packaging, and he couldn't even fit it into the bag. Finally, they sat down for dinner. The 4 of them were eating while the robot, named Yuan Yuan, stood in the corner charging. The charging board had adhesive backing, and Li Hong designated a spot for it, allowing the robot to install it on its own. Su Exine, while eating, didn't forget to converse with the robot. Yuan Yuan, do you know martial arts? I know Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi, Baguazhang, and Wing Chun, the robot replied, listing a long string of martial arts names, which were data Zheng Fan had collected for a fighting game and programmed into the robot. Wow, you're amazing. So you're a martial arts expert. Su Exine exclaimed, her mouth agape in surprise. Chapter 145. Martial arts. Listening to the robot Yuan Yuan seriously boast in the corner, Zheng Fan felt a laugh bubbling up, especially seeing how Su Exine seemed to believe it. Zheng Fan, after dinner, you should spar with Yuan Yuan and see who's more skilled. Su Lu encouraged. She can only talk big. She can handle ordinary people like you, but there's no way she can compare to a real martial artist. Zheng Fan replied. But you said she can learn and grow. Can't you teach her more? Li Hong suggested. I'll give it a try. I don't know if it will work. After dinner, the group cleared a large space in the living room and let Yuan Yuan demonstrate Tai Chi, specifically the 24 forms that Zheng Fan had practiced initially. The robot does not understand the concepts of martial intention, principles, or balance, yet it performs moves remarkably well, appearing as if it has deep mastery. After a few hours of practice, Zheng Fan noticed that its movements had become much smoother and no longer stiff like at the beginning. Unlike humans, it does not need to practice techniques for proficiency, train muscle memory, or build strength. It only needs to know how to apply techniques and accumulate practical experience. The robot's power and speed mainly depend on the motor power, the strength of its steel skeleton, and the tensile strength of the wires that drive its movements. Although made from mass-produced materials, their strength far exceeds that of human bones and muscles. Its limitation lies in battery power and instantaneous output. It cannot sustain power for long. And its explosive strength is not comparable to Zheng Fan's, who could be easily outmatched, even by an elephant. Such strength limitations mean that this combat ability will not be unlocked unless faced with extreme situations. It cannot be utilized. Even with only basic strength, it is still much stronger than an average person. After finishing a Tai Chi performance, the robot, Yuan Yuan, received enthusiastic applause and knew to bow in thanks. Though its silicone face couldn't express nuanced emotions. What you just demonstrated is suitable for performance. Let me teach you some practical moves, Zheng Fan said. Then practice the newly learned techniques. These practical moves were quick, and one could even hear the sound of air bursting as they struck. Li Hong and the others, seeing Zheng Fan practice for the first time, could feel the intensity just from the sounds and movements. After practicing for over 10 minutes, Zheng Fan asked, "How was that? Did you remember it?" The robot Yuan Yuan remained in its previous stance, staring blankly, and after more than a minute, replied, "I remembered." "Then practice it once. At the speed I just demonstrated," Zheng Fan commanded. Since they were in the living room, he didn't dare to use too much force while stomping. But Yuan Yuan mimicked well, delivering powerful strikes yet landing softly, creating a somewhat uncoordinated appearance. The robot's memory was indeed impressive. After practicing several sets of moves, it was getting late, and Su Lu and the others took their leave, repeatedly reminding Zheng Fan to think of them for future opportunities to test such robots. Even if it meant spending money. The Yuan Soil City Park wasn't too crowded at 5 in the morning, and they managed to find a quiet spot. Zheng Fan led Yuan Yuan there, reteaching the moves that hadn't been completed yesterday, and then asking it to practice again. At that moment, he felt quite similar to the robot, as both learned quickly just by watching once. Lacking the rigorous training that others go through, he had gained speed and strength quickly. A thought that made him feel uneasy, prompting him to cut off that line of thinking. To make Yuan Yuan less conspicuous, Zheng Fan had it change into a set of clothes belonging to Li Hong, covering itself completely. Its silicone skin was easy to see through. So he added a baseball cap and a mask. Such a disguise was common and wouldn't attract too much attention. The techniques can be learned through exceptional memory, but practical experience requires accumulation from actual combat. Yuan Yuan has become his best sparring partner, especially in push hands, where they can push against each other for over 10 minutes. Of course, this push hands practice isn't for show. It's to enhance their understanding and application of the techniques. As soon as one senses a flaw in the other's use of strength, they can instantly gain the upper hand. At first, Yuan Yuan was thrown down unceremoniously more than a dozen times, but her progress was astonishing, and she quickly grasped the underlying techniques, making it difficult for Zheng Fan to easily gain an advantage. There's a prerequisite, though. The strength difference between the two must not be too great. Otherwise, even the slightest effort wouldn't be enough to overcome a significant force, and one could get knocked over easily. As a newly manufactured robot, Yuan Yuan needed a gradual adaptation process for her use of strength and body control, and this push hands practice accelerated her adaptation. They practiced here for over an hour, drawing the attention of a few passersby. Some who didn't understand quickly left, but one elderly man, in his 60s, thin and with graying hair, who seemed to have just retired, stayed to watch. It wasn't until Zheng Fan called a stop to their practice that the man approached and said, "Young brother, I see your skills are quite impressive. May I ask who your teacher is?" "Haha, I'm mainly self-taught, and I've received some guidance, but haven't formally apprenticed to anyone, so I can't disclose my name," Zheng Fan explained with a smile. "I understand. Watching you practice makes me a bit eager to try. Would you mind sparring a bit with me?" The old man said amiably. Given his demeanor, Zheng Fan didn't think he was looking for trouble, so he agreed to spar, asking Yuan Yuan to stand back and watch, trying not to reveal any flaws to the old man. As soon as they started, Zheng Fan felt that the old man indeed had some skills. His stance was stable and his strength greater than that of an average person, though still far from Zheng Fan's level. After a few minutes of sparring, the old man voluntarily called a stop. "You're quite skilled. I know you're holding back, and I don't blame you. It's reassuring to see that traditional martial arts have a future. I can die content now." After saying this, he turned and walked away, humming a Peking opera tune. I'm on the city wall watching the mountain scenery, hearing the chaos outside the city. What an interesting old man. Noticing it was getting late, Zheng Fan and Yuan Yuan headed home, stopping to buy breakfast to share with Li Hong. Previously, he would finish his meal and pack some to take back, but now he couldn't leave the robot waiting, so they returned together. Fortunately, there were plenty of people on the way, and they went unnoticed. For the next few days, Zheng Fan took Yuan Yuan to practice martial arts in Yuan 2 City Park every morning. Unfortunately, he only really knew Tai Chi from traditional martial arts. As he had mostly learned the rest from online videos, he didn't know much more than Yuan Yuan, so he mainly taught her combat techniques while they practiced together. It was rare to have a sparring partner of comparable skill without the need to hold back, and Zhang Fan felt he was making significant progress. Of course, Yuan Yuan, the robot, was improving even more rapidly, outpacing her peers from the same production batch, especially in coordination and reaction ability, far surpassing those who spent their days doing household chores. Chapter 146 Observer. The first batch of internal test robots brought home by executives consisted of only a few, while most remained at the company, serving as laboratory assistants, security, cleaning staff, and so on. Even the front desk had an additional robot assistant, which improved the work atmosphere, making everyone anxious about the possibility of being laid off in the future. For the past few days, Zheng Fang had been thinking that if these robots had arrived just a day earlier, she might not have been able to secure the position of Zhang Fan's secretary. He would have surely found a robot to replace her. Her daily work was incredibly easy, consisting of spending over an hour summarizing emails and tidying up the office, with no other responsibilities. The branch offices had already gotten used to this nominal technical director, and after a week in her position, no one had contacted Zheng Fan through her. As for her boss, he had only shown up at the office twice in a week, and on one of those days, he left before noon. Zheng Fang suspected that if she kept coasting like this, she would become useless. So she brought her exam preparation materials to the office and started studying hard, preparing for the exam. She knew she had to be proactive and not rely on others. Zheng Fang was from a village in a mountainous area of a suburban county in Liuzhou, Guangxi. Since childhood, she had been considered the exemplary child by her classmates' parents, achieving excellent grades. She was admitted to a prestigious university for accounting with the 17th best score in science across the region. During her time at school, she consistently ranked among the top students, receiving first-class scholarships every semester and representing her department as an outstanding student. If it weren't for the sudden rise of the company where she was interning, she would have surely been recommended for graduate studies to continue her education. Now, although she no longer had the qualification for recommendation, as a top student, she had never feared exams. She was confident that as long as she set her mind to it, she would definitely pass. After studying until noon, she packed her books and went to the company cafeteria for lunch. "Hey, Zheng Fang, over here." Just as she got her meal, she saw her senior Su Xin calling her. Since becoming Zheng Fan's secretary, she had suddenly become a well-known figure in the company, as if everyone had gotten to know her overnight. Both acquaintances and strangers greeted her, which made her, typically shy, quite uncomfortable. She didn't mind Su Xin's friendly approach, as they were alumni. Zheng Fang admired Su Xin's lively personality, which allowed her to easily talk to anyone. More importantly, Su Xin was bold and unafraid of confrontation. She wouldn't tolerate things she found disagreeable, which Zheng Fang especially envied. "Are you alone today, senior?" Zheng Fang asked as she sat down opposite Su Xin. "Just call me Su Xin. If you keep calling me senior, I'll feel old," Su Xin complained. "Got it. Is your boss skipping work again?" Zheng Fang replied. "Director Zheng doesn't he need to clock in?" Su Xin remarked. "He's just a big lazy bum. Probably at home playing games instead of working." Su Xin clearly realized that discussing this openly in public wasn't appropriate, and lowered her voice to whisper. This insider information surprised Zheng Fang. She had always thought Zheng Fan was busy and simply reluctant to take her out. "I envy such a life. Lying at home every day and earning a much higher salary than us. It's just not fair," Su Xin said, stuffing her mouth with food, her words somewhat unclear. Zheng Fang wanted to defend her boss, but felt she didn't know enough and didn't know where to start. So she spoke in general terms. "He has made so many important inventions, so of course he has the right to do as he pleases." "Do as he pleases?" "You might be thinking too much. I think he's almost like someone in prison," Su Xin said with a hint of schadenfreude. "Weren't you just envying him for not having to go to work every day?" Zheng Fang pointed out the contradiction in her words. "I envy his wealth. I envy that he can skip work, but I'm not envious of his life. Look at other wealthy people, luxury villas, fancy cars, yachts, private jets. Able to go wherever they want and buy whatever they want. What about him? He has no hobbies, spends all day at home, and is tightly controlled by his wife. Even going on a honeymoon, he can only hide away in the mountains. He can't even play with a tent without sneaking around in the living room." Su Xin seemed carefree, but she didn't just say these things to anyone. She had participated in a background check on Zheng Fang and knew it was safe to share her thoughts, hoping to bond with her a bit more. "Listening to you, the boss really seems pitiful." Zheng Fang, who was intelligent but emotionally average, believed Su Xin's words without question, knowing they lived in the same neighborhood. "Pitiful? That's our outsider's view. He himself is enjoying it," Su Xin scoffed. The entire afternoon, Zheng Fang couldn't concentrate on studying and kept pondering over Su Xin's words. She had started at the company earlier than Su Xin, Gao Hua, and Su Huiyun. Although she was an intern, she had a good understanding of the company's financial changes over the past 6 months, making her one of the most informed people at the company's lowest point. There was less than 100,000 yuan in the account, and Lu Yifan had spent over 2 months trying to raise funds with no success. As the next month's salaries were in jeopardy, it was the artificial intelligence and autonomous driving technology invented by Zheng Fan that saved the day, essentially bringing the company back to life. The following days saw the company rising rapidly. In just over 6 months, it became one of the most promising unlisted companies globally, with its valuation increasing almost exponentially every day. Since she had joined the company early and performed excellently in her financial role, she had won 5 options before the split, which were now worth over 2